message for seniors from President Trump. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News.
These are your golden years.
The president with that message at the Villages in Florida.
But these are really beyond your golden years. This is the golden age of America. This is where we are. We're in a period of time, and you've lived, and you're going to live a long time longer, but you're going right now through the golden age of America.
The president highlighting his no tax on Social Security policy while at the 55-plus community, also mentioning his no tax on overtime and no tax on tips plans. This comes a day after he signed an order that would create retirement accounts for people who don't already have them. Democrats argue the president's policies are raising prices for everyday Americans. Before he left Fort Florida, the president was asked about negotiations with Iran.
They want to make a deal, but I'm not satisfied with it, so we'll see what happens.
The president saying they are continuing to meet by phone. And the president telling lawmakers the deadline to approve the Iran strikes doesn't apply because hostilities have terminated.
President Trump sending letters to congressional leaders saying because of the ongoing ceasefire, he doesn't need their authorization for ongoing military operations in Iran. Under the War Powers Resolution of 1973, Congress has to declare war or authorize the use of force within 60 days. But the war with Iran began 60 days ago without congressional approval. The Senate rejecting a Democratic resolution to stop the conflict for a sixth time Thursday.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin, but in the letter, the president says the conflict may be far from over, saying the threat posed by Iran to the United States remains significant. As several European nations have been critical of the U.S. involvement in Iran, the Pentagon now says War Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered the withdrawal of about 5,000 troops from Germany. America's listening to Fox News.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, was a healthy 34-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had life insurance. Ethos made it so easy. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. 100% online, no medical exam. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us the space to just grieve.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. Ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Thinking about starting your GLP-1 journey? Go to orderlymeds.com/radio. Get access to proven GLP-1 medications, licensed providers, and a plan built for real life. All online. No guesswork, no wasted time. Just real people, real answers, real momentum, and support that actually lasts. Join thousands already seeing results. Start now at orderlymeds.com/radio. orderlymeds.com/radio. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Folks! The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show here on Seattle Red, 770 AM. Streaming on the Seattle Red app, online at seattlered.com. We got a ton to get to this hour on this gorgeous May Day Friday afternoon. Molly Hemingway, author of a brand new book, Alito, stops by. Plus, Scott Jennings had enough about that smug 23-year-old kid who doesn't know how to wear a tie bar. We're going to get into that and so much more. But first, yet another major scandal exploding for Bob Ferguson. That's what's trending, brought to you by the Sunset Auto family.
What's trending? Let's get political.
He does seem to be rather scandal prone. Is that fair to say at this point? We can say he's both scandal prone, but also a control freak, which that part I can see. You can look at him and say he likes to have his hands on everything. You just get that sense. Bob Ferguson spent years building this brand of his on this idea that concentrated executive power is dangerous. Didn't he tell us that about Donald Trump over and over and over again? He sued Donald Trump, 50 times, 60 times as Attorney General? He gave all these speeches about checks and balances. He raised money off of the word authoritarian. And it's worth keeping in mind that Ferguson, who's, of course, now the governor, has ordered all Washington cabinet agencies to route their public communications through his office before they get released. If someone reaches out seeking comment or wants to do an interview, oh, no, you better tip us off first. You better tell us first in my office before we let you talk to a reporter. This was a story that Axios put to paper this week. I think yesterday and the day before is when it started to break. But the reality is, every reporter who covers Bob Ferguson has known this for the last year. And I think we even talked about this within the last year. I don't remember all the details. We probably didn't get too deep into it because, frankly, I don't care to go to Bob Ferguson's office for anything. And I never expect anyone of any agency to ever respond to anything that we ask. But this has been an open, quote unquote, open secret for the last year. The difference is Axios ended up finally getting some documentation via public disclosure request, which Democrats oppose, that shows you the depth of how egregious not only this policy is, but what it's actually meant. Melissa Santos is the reporter. She spoke with Fox 13.
There are delays from the governor's office that are delaying information getting out to the public. And sometimes that's updates about, where vaccines can be accessed. That was the case in one case. And sometimes there's a mild delay in releasing an exposure map for a measles case last October at CTAC. These are things that do affect the public. And I think that if I was at CTAC that day, I might want to know about that measles case and maybe have access to that information a little sooner and not have sort of delays imposed by multiple layers of editing on news releases and such that we used to get straight from the agencies.
Now, the spokesperson for Bob Ferguson says this is totally normal. This is normal behavior. We just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. This is so that we can be communicative across agencies. Now, it's certainly true that you, generally speaking, that you inform higher ups of what's happening, just in a general sense. What she's claiming from the spokesperson, Brianna Ahu is the name. What she's claiming about how this is totally normal, that's not true. That is 100% not true. You give a whole lot of, sort of leeway to your agencies that are under you to do the day-to-day, but they let you know big picture about what's going on. That would be like, hey, Jackson, before you send an email request for, an interview, let me see it first. No, I tell you just generally, don't be a jerk. Don't lie, but don't give them too much information when we're putting out this stuff. And I let you do it.
Occasionally, if you're annoyed with something, you'll say it with a little bit of an attitude.
Yeah, every once in a while, I'll say, you can get a little snarky on this one. Or if I really want to send a message, I say, you can go ahead and CC me on this one. But for the most part, I let him just do what he's doing. He's got the big picture guidance, and he'll tell me if there's any issues. That's how it works with the agencies. But the problem is he was so anal about this that it's literally everything, including some important stuff that needed to get out to the public.
Specifically with regards to WIC, the Women, Infants, and Children's Food Aid Program, the governor's office, according to the records we found, was instructing the agencies not to take any interviews about that because they didn't want any questions about why the state didn't have any backup funding for that kind of program that helps people directly afford food. And that was from a State Department of Health staffer who wrote that in an email saying, we were just told not to take interviews. And that's not transparent for the public.
What? It's not? So weird. Remember that whole war on the press thing that I'm told Trump is responsible, which is so odd because Donald Trump, he hates the press. He wants to throw everyone in jail. He's the most transparent president we've literally ever had. He will do sometimes over an hour-long press briefing with reporters just throwing questions at him left and right. He did it again today.
Reporters will call him out of the blue on his personal phone and he'll answer.
So I was on a panel on CNN where this very issue came up and they were asking me about it. I said, so this is a bad thing? He's like, oh, but all these, they played a minute-long clip of anchor after anchor after anchor, reporter after reporter after reporter, some international that I didn't even know, saying, I called the president, he picked up. And then they came to me for comment. I was like, what do you want from me? Isn't this good? You don't want someone who's transparent? You don't want someone who's answering questions directly? We had a president previously who wasn't able to do that at all. So now take that and the criticisms of Donald Trump. Look at what Bob Ferguson's office is doing. It's just so insane. And his office was even influencing talking points for public health officials. But no politics in public health.
Interviews also have to be approved by the governor's office, to the point that the governor at one point was personally editing or reviewing talking points for the state epidemiologist to talk about bird flu to Politico. And that's an unusual, it seems to me, amount of involvement by a governor in communication with the public and media relations when there are dozens and dozens of professionals whose job it is to do that.
I saw our colleague Charlie from Seattle's Morning News on our sister station tweeting about this. And part of the reason why I know that this is an open secret is because he brought this up just internally. We were talking about this a long time ago. Others have talked about it as well. And he called out the governor for this, and he praised Melissa Santos, and good work from Melissa. And kudos to Fox 13, who covered this as well. I don't know if any other local media outlet covered this, but let's just, for the sake of argument, assume every single one, except for King 5, because, of course, they would never criticize the governor. But let's assume every other one covered this yesterday. And they talked about it, and they just presented the facts. That's that. Cool. Now what? Anyone? Because I would argue that if the press actually thought that this was a serious story, and it is a serious story, wouldn't there be a part 2 to this? Wouldn't there be a demand from the governor for some answers? Wouldn't it include some follow-up stories about what this truly has meant to the public gaining information, to gaining access to information that's important? Wouldn't this lead to a story about transparency with the press, transparency for the public? Wouldn't we get something? Wouldn't we get like weeks and weeks and weeks worth of content? Because I think it's deserving of that. And I think that if this were a Republican governor, this would be a big story. I think in Idaho, if this was Governor Brad Little who had this kind of policy, it would get national attention. I think if it was Tina Kotek, it would be treated the exact same way as it's going to be treated with Bob Ferguson. You get a day's worth of news, not leading story, and then it just kind of goes away, which is why he's going to continue to embolden his office to have sort of this iron fist on the agencies. Guarantee nothing changes. I guarantee nothing changes because he knows he can get away with it. And the truth is, the average person doesn't care about this. The average voter, including probably the average listener, doesn't even care about this story. Dare I say, we still cover stories you might not think is important, because I do think it's important, and I hope enough of you realize the importance of this, but nothing will change, unfortunately. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending in the media?
Well, Scott Jennings had a night. I talked to him briefly this morning, mostly because I just wanted to give him a high five, but then I was like, but I'm going to keep my personal space. I'm not putting my hand anywhere near yours, so let's just do a text high five. He was on CNN Newsnight, which is the show I'm on and will be on again in a couple weeks as I go back to New York. He was unfortunate enough to have Midas Touch contributor Adam Mockler on the show. Adam here's the sad part about any show on television, any debate show in particular, but really you can make this about any cable news show, whether it's conservative or liberal. There are some people who do this because they want to get the message out, and it's a benefit if there's a viral moment, but they're not looking for a viral moment. Then there are people who are only looking for viral moments, regardless of the content, regardless of whether or not they even believe what it is they're saying. And I am in the camp of, I'll take a viral moment. I'm not looking for one. I'll happily take it if it happens naturally, but I don't go in formulating a way for me to go viral. And if I did that, you know what would happen? I would go viral all the time because I know what kind of messaging would go viral. I'd drop an F-bomb every so often. I would get especially snarky with the host. Like, I would know how to do that, but that's not interesting to me. Sorry. I know people love the idea of just going viral. There are people like Scott Jennings who will go viral because he's just really good at debating. Like, he's not doing any sort of gotcha moment. He's got a brand, and he's really good at what he does. Adam Mockler, on the other hand, because he's a 23-year-old punk kid, is always looking for a viral moment. I felt that when he was on next to me, and I knew what he was doing, so I never gave in. But I hate that kind of content. And that's not all liberals do this. Conservatives do this too. I just don't like it. You can always tell when someone scripted out some sort of moment, sometimes a literal script that they're reading from, an insult, some sort of line that they, tested in front of their friends or their agents. It's like, ooh, I think this happens all the time. I can't stand that. I find it to be boring TV because I know what it is that they're doing. So they're talking about Iran. Adam Mockler going for his viral moment, ironically, generated a viral moment, but not because of anything he said, but because of something he did.
We all know that Scott Jennings is more than happy to defend a war with a country that starts with the letters IRA that we are currently failing, that is going to put us trillions and trillions of dollars more in debt. I was only a few years old while you were in the administration defending prior endless wars. Now this war is failing.
8 weeks is endless to you?
Okay, you said it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks.
You have the attention span of a gnat?
And I like that line. But again, stop using endless war when we've only been in it for weeks. Okay, endless war. It's endless war. And we're failing miserably. That's a stupid comment. And that's how I could easily go viral, just turn to him like, dude, that's a stupid comment, but I wouldn't do that.
I debated you on TV 4 to 6 weeks ago.
And at this point, he's starting to get rather close to Scott Jennings, putting his hands in his face. Now, in fairness to Adam, he does talk with his hands a lot. That's part of his brand, his shtick. It's kind of like the Gavin Newsom thing. They're doing that intentionally.
Maybe he's Italian. I don't know.
I don't think he is. I don't know. But he was doing it, and he does normally do that. However, he doesn't normally do that, at least in my experience, as closely to the person seated next to him as he was doing with Scott.
Said we were weeks away from it. Now you're making condescending remarks because you can't defend the fact that this war is not going your way. Wait, one more time.
Not going your way.
Name one political
Name one
political concession.
Hey, whoa,
Honestly, I'm not going to have this guy's
everybody,
in my face.
everybody, hang tight.
Honestly.
Okay. No, everybody, calm down. Okay. We're having a debate. You can respond to the points that he's making.
Can you name a political concession that we've got?
We're having a flashback to the war the skinheads had in my studio.
I would be mad if I had to defend war too. I would be mad if I had to defend war.
Scott, you can respond.
We have a very simple goal: to keep terrorists and a terrorist regime from having a nuclear weapon that can threaten the United States, our interests in the region, our allies in Europe, anybody else in the world.
So you can't answer the question. Thank you. I would get mad too.
Oh, God.
So smug.
He's so smug. He's so smug. And I say that as someone who's got a huge narcissism problem, but dear God. So you can tell that Scott didn't do this for a viral moment because, number one, Scott almost never curses. And you can tell that this was a legitimate annoyance, rightly so, I think. Folks on the left decided to jump on this, in bad faith. He should be fired. He should be fired for this. Mehdi Hassan, who no longer appears on CNN, I guess, was up in arms. I saw, what's his name? Jim Acosta. He posted this morning. I can't believe that CNN still hires this guy. Okay, thanks, Jim.
Just
the guy who got
bitter.
fired for being so incompetent. This is obviously not a fireable offense. It's so dumb. It's cable news, by the way. You can say the F word. You generally don't. I was on a panel on this show 2 months ago, and I can't remember who it was. This is the first time she was on, and we talked about this when it happened. She had not been on before, and this was her big kind of moment, and she didn't, and this is not her fault, especially if you're new to this. She could not figure out how to join the conversation, so she said almost nothing the entire show, and you could tell that was kind of getting to her because I could tell she was getting text messages, presumably from a friend or an agent saying, hey, speak up, as my assumption was. So towards the end of the show, she drops the S-bomb, but no one reacted to it. And I think she wanted it to get that kind of reaction, like to go, ooh, look at, she's so edgy. It's like, just be normal. Just be normal. You don't have to look for viral moments. And it's hard to get, the first time I did the show, for at least the first half, I struggled to get two things: the rhythm of how the conversation goes, because you got 5 total people talking. That's not easy to assert yourself for the first time with people you've never met and get that rhythm down. I figured it out halfway through because I'm a once-in-a-generation talent. But then the other thing I had to figure out is camera placement. Knowing when the camera's on you, and depending on which seat you're on, you're not getting a direct line to when the camera's on. So it's not always easy, but you figure it out. So I have some sympathy there. But the whole trying to get that viral moment, it never works out. And the viral moments happen, the real ones that people actually like and share, is like this, when it is organic. Except, ironically, it was organic from the person who went viral, not from the person who was trying to go viral. There was another moment that I think deserves to be viral. My friend Peter Mayer, who's a former Republican congressman who got booted because he was anti-Trump, at least towards the end. But I actually like Peter Mayer, and he's really smart on issues. But he went after a former congressional candidate far to the left, Kat, how do you say her last name? Abugazile? I know her best as Kat Abu. And you know why I know her as Kat Abu? She used to work at Media Matters. Do you remember what Media Matters did?
They take little snippets of conservatives, usually out of context, and try and make them look bad.
Do you know what Kat Abu did multiple times to me on Fox News?
That
exact issue. And I remember one time she called me that annoying debate kid who's an adult. Something like that. Like she would do that all the time when I was on Fox. And it was always out of context, and it was always really bad faith. So listen to her talking about an issue of media ownership that Pete Mayer was wise enough to call her out on.
Last night, we saw in Texas courts that the case for Alex Jones and the Sandy Hook families, which has been going on for more than 8 years, these families have been tortured by this man for over a decade. He somehow found a legal loophole made just for him. Even lawyers don't totally understand what's happening here. And if you're watching this and you're in Texas, you should call your representative and ask what the hell is happening with that deal. This goes to speech all across the spectrum, except for the people that align with the most extreme parts of the right.
Do you have a vested interest in that case?
Sorry?
Do you have a vested interest in the
Yeah, my partner owns The Onion, but also, do you not want the Sandy Hook families to get their fair share?
I do. I think
because
Alex
right now,
Jones
this
should
is
be
the
off the air.
only
I just
deal.
was saying, like, there are other externalities there when it comes to that. So I like disclosure. I like honesty.
Yes,
I like
and
that
I think the Sandy Hook families deserve every honesty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love this. So she was talking about something that she has a vested interest in because she was, her boyfriend's business takeover of InfoWars to be finalized has to go through this court case. Okay, so she didn't disclose that. Isn't that weird? Now, I don't know how Peter Mayer knew that she was dating the guy. Like, do you know who Kat Abuzova is dating?
No.
I don't follow. I don't know. Is Pete Mayer married? I don't know. But he called it out immediately. And did you hear what she did, like right at the end there, or right when he did it? Listen again.
It's an interest in the
Yeah, my partner owns the people that align with the most extreme parts of the right.
Do you have a vested interest in that case?
Sorry?
Like, wait, what? You weren't supposed to do that? Sorry? And then she responded, well, yeah, as if she was going to mention that anyway. Speaking of Peter, he also called out Adam Mockler, who was complaining about Trump being a fascist or something.
If you even so much as hint that Donald Trump is a fascist, Republicans lose their temper, as they so often do.
Or you put it into a manifesto after you try to assassinate him because you believe that he's a fascist and you think that justifies his assassination.
No, you guys have said that we shouldn't even call
terrorism.
Donald
That's
Trump
the phrase that you say.
Then Donald Trump gets into office, he tries to remove comedians from the airwaves, and you guys run...
He hasn't tried to remove anyone. He said someone should be removed. That doesn't mean he's trying to remove someone from the airwaves.
Defense for it. Donald Trump tries to make a list of his political opponents that he wants to lock up, like, I don't know, Comey, Letitia James. He's talking about
I impeached the guy, and I'm sitting here talking about him, right? Like you see me in the concentration camps right now.
No, I'm referring
You're
to
not
other...
in a fascist
Wait, do you not
republic.
think he has fascistic tendencies? Do you not think they're trying to take people off the
Using
air?
the term fascist is so fraught.
No,
No,
Donald Trump is taking comedians off the air.
Oh, my God. Oh, so now we are taking comedians off the air. I thought he said before, he started off by saying he wants to try to take them off the air. And then he says he's taking comedians off the air. See how that just flipped? The second you push back against some of these silly talking points, the easier it is to watch these people fold. And it's not to say that you can't make reasonable arguments against Donald Trump or against Republicans. Have at it. I think there are plenty of things that we can have debates on. But dear God, this whole, he's a fascist. I still am trying to figure out what the whole wannabe dictator line is. At least he's saying wannabe. I can't remember the name of that guest. He was on last week when I was on. The guy from Tennessee. He's like, he's a wannabe dictator. So he wants to be a dictator, but he's not a dictator because your side has been saying that he is a dictator and a fascist, but now you're saying wannabe. Is there like some weird, do you think people afterwards get upset with him to say, just go say dictator? You're hurting our cause, man. 1-800-465-8770 for your text. When we come back, it's May Day. Yay. We'll have the latest.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
Liberty Mutual customized this song for you. Like your car insurance, it's custom too, yeah. Liberty Mutual's got the coverage that could save you money. Thanks to Doug and Limu, well now you can go and take that cruise. Liberty, 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 yeah.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Leather's remodel sale is on now. While the world is raising prices at Leather's, we are lowering them. Over 200 pieces of quality furniture will be sold at half off. Mitch here, owner of Leather's, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. This is our largest selling event in 30 years. Gorgeous furniture for every room in the house will be sold at half off. Fabric, leather, and wood sold while they last at half off. Luxurious furniture in stock at liquidation prices. So hurry into Leather's giant remodel sale in Issaquah now.
Is the volatility of the stock market driving you crazy? Is your retirement account sinking, yet you're getting older and you're starting to worry about, will I have enough for retirement? What about the money in the bank? These banks pay nothing these days. How do we get growth to get to retirement? It's simple. Move into gold and silver. Want to know how to do it? Listen to my show, Striking Gold, with me, Kenny Michaels.
Sundays at 11 a.m. on Seattle Red.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in on this May Day. Is this the one where we say May the 1st be with you?
That's May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
Okay. So which one is this?
This is like the weird commie one.
Okay. But it's different this year because they've got Donald Trump in office. So it's a mix of flying around communist flags while pretending that you stand for labor. You don't. While also talking about how Trump is a dictator, and then you get to do the whole...
This is what democracy looks like.
But this is not what democracy looks like. This is just what a march looks like. This is what happens when you get a bunch of people who are already unemployed looking for something to do on a nice Friday. I don't understand. What do you mean this is what democracy looks like? So when there's a pro-life march, is that what democracy looks like? No, that's something else. It's not. It's what's the opposite of democracy? Well, we can't do the opposite.
That reminds me, I saw a couple weeks ago, I was driving home and I saw this guy in a pickup truck and his bumper sticker said, "Are you an environmentalist or do you work for a living?" That was so funny.
That's a good one. That's a good one. They have to come up with one that rhymes. I still don't understand that one. The people united will never be defeated. Why can't they have a rhyme? They don't even have the same number of syllables, so it doesn't even like work lyrically. I don't like it. So May Day, we're told from April Sims, the Washington State Labor Council president, is for the working class or something.
Our movement fights for the dignity of all working people. You may not be in a union yet, but this movement fights for you too.
Okay. It's for the working class. There was a whole lot of anti-Trump and anti-ICE stuff going on, which is weird. What happened to the working class stuff? I've got video up on our social media, or at least on my X account. I will say this was kind of clever. I couldn't quite figure out at first because we have a listener who's embedded with them sending me video, so I'm posting it. One looked like a bee in an ICE uniform, and it's yellow and black. And I was talking with Julia from mynorthwest.com, and she was like, "What is it? I don't even understand." I'm looking at it, I was like, "I think they're bees." But then I looked a little bit closer. You know what they were? Lice. Get it? They just put an L in front of the ICE uniforms and they dressed up as lice.
That's stupid.
It's very stupid. Do you even know what a lice looks like? A louse?
I thought it was a louse.
Is it a louse?
Yeah.
Is it a single?
I think lice is
there
plural.
were several of them.
Okay, okay.
Well, I don't know. Do we say hair or hairs? I think lice can work singularly or as a plural. I always thought that.
I'm under the impression that a single louse is...
It's just a louse?
Yeah.
You're not thinking about the city? Or is it a country?
The country.
It's a country. Oh.
If you have ever worked for a paycheck, you are my ally, my sibling, and my comrade.
No, we're not.
Everyone there is like, "Oh, shoot, I've never done that."
Yeah, no, everyone, in that audience is like, "Oh, I thought we had so much more in common." It turns out we don't have anything in common.
Because our struggles are linked. And if our struggles are linked, so too are our solutions.
I'm feeling fine. How are you doing? Are you struggling today?
Not really. It's nice out.
Yeah, I don't know why she's always so angry all the time. That's the one thing about labor activists. They're always so angry. Lighten up a little bit, man. You know what every single one of these people needed to pull? A Chris Wright. They need to just try to photosynthesize. Just look up into the sun, close your eyes, just absorb some of that. Katie Garrow is the executive secretary-treasurer of the MLK Labor Union.
There is a growing awareness in our communities about the concentration of wealth within an upper tier of society, and working people are having a harder and harder time to make it every year.
Did you know that there's never been a time in history in which the so-called concentration of wealth was less concentrated? Like, we live in a time in which there's less concentration of wealth than at any point in history. Do you know why that is? Because people are making more money.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have more freedoms, maybe not in Seattle or Washington, but we have more freedoms. People are able to actually gain more wealth, accrue more wealth, and they can spread it to their own family members. It's not just a time in which there's like one small group of families that have all the wealth. That's not how it works anymore. They don't want you to know that because their goal is to keep you poor. Because when you're poor, you're more likely to give them more power. That's what this is about. But they'll tell you they're fighting for your quality of life.
Being able to provide for your children, being able to get care when you're sick, being able to go on vacation, get braces for your kids when you need to. That's what we're about.
All the kids are like, I don't want that kind of freedom. Get away from me. I would be looking like that all the time. But everything she just said, we've already accomplished and then some. If anything, we've gone too far in the direction of, you want a vacation, let's give you endless vacation times. You accrue your sick time every single month. Do you know how many sick days I have? I went back and I looked because I used a half of a sick day this week. You know how many sick days I have?
How many?
So I've been here in this building for, I think, 14-ish years, a little bit more than 14 years. I have 27,000 sick days accrued because of the laws in Seattle and in Washington in particular. Did you know that? 27,000. Don't feel so well. I'll see you at my retirement party. What are they talking about? And really, this is all about being anti-Trump.
Attacks on immigrants and on our voting rights and on just our basic,
Spit it out.
Our basic social safety net.
Okay, yeah. Again, we have more of a social safety net now than we've ever had in the history of social safety nets. It's funny that this week is when Katie Wilson got called out for this statement that she made actually on April 14th.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown. And if, the ones that leave, like, bye.
Like, bye, like, and stuff like, yeah. This was the number one trending story on Fox News today. This is 2 days in a row. I've got an op-ed coming out for Fox News, I think, on Monday or Tuesday on this issue. People are wailing on her, and they should. But, and I pointed out on the show yesterday, and as I point out in the op-ed at Fox News, part of the reason why they're doing this, she's doing this, is she wants you focused on demonizing the wealthy, because the second they do, in fact, leave, and they are leaving, the Democrats are going to say, well, now we're forced to, because those evil, greedy, wealthy people who fled to pay their fair share, we now have to target you with a tax. It's not our fault. It's their fault. They did this to us. We know that that's their goal. They told us that that's their goal. They told us that. What do they call it? Tax justice. That's what they're calling it. And there was video that was leaked earlier this week of State Representative April Berg. She's, what is she, Marysville or Mukilteo? I can't remember. But it was obtained by Future 42, who weirdly decided to give it to a different show, but not this one. Okay, thanks, guys. And she says in this Zoom meeting, we are now going to have more people paying their fair share at the amount they should, right? So you won't have the highest earning Washingtonians paying less than the lowest earning Washingtonians. Now, can I say it's perfect? No. But this is the next incremental step in tax justice. If you remember, we went from capital gains, now we're at an income tax, so we're getting there, all right? Where's there? What's next? Any ideas? Any whatsoever? Exactly. You already went after the billionaires, and then the millionaires. What comes after that? Everyone else. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. Picture amazing photography, designer staging, and maximum exposure. With my luxurious marketing, you'll sell fast at top dollar and save thousands in fees for just 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Summer's right around the corner. Can you say World Series? I don't want to jinx anybody, and I don't want to jinx that heating system or cooling system that you have, but it could possibly out at home. So the best thing to do right now is to replace the system. You want it done right and done fast. Upgrade your cooling now with Home Comfort Alliance. Their 60-second online price estimator makes it so easy. Upgrade to a Lennox cooling system and get a new heating system free. Plus available utility rebates. Visit homecomfortalliance.com today.
Support comes from Amazon Business. Free your team from time-consuming procurement tasks. Discover smart business buying where unmatched selection meets AI-driven tools to simplify complex processes so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Get $1,000 in free survival gear for a limited time. You heard that right. Right now, when you order the powerful Grid Doctor 3300 solar generator from MyPatriotSupply.com, we'll send you over $1,000 in life-saving preparedness supplies, including a 4-week survival food kit, water filtration system, an off-grid cook stove, and much more, absolutely free. This offer won't last long, so get your generator and free survival gear now at mypatriotsupply.com. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Hey, John, why don't you tell everybody why you started going to Longevity Medical Clinic?
No, I don't want to do that. I can tell you, I started going to Longevity Medical Clinic before I started doing these commercials, but that why I went is not important.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Okay. I'll tell you. I was a Sammamish City Council member, and whenever they had asked me to do the Pledge of Allegiance, I couldn't make it through the whole thing without crying. I know, it's so dumb. I mean, I know I'm patriotic, but what the heck? So I go into Longevity Medical Clinic, and I explained this to them, that there's something wrong with my hormones or something, and they see the testosterone and the estrogen are all out of balance. We balance all that stuff, and I can do the Pledge of Allegiance without crying. But I've also noticed that I deal with stress a lot better, don't I?
Yes, you're a lot easier to live with because you're getting more sleep, you have more energy, you're better organized, and I'm not helping you look for your car keys every morning.
Right, because now I've taken the steps to take care of my mind and body. I strongly recommend anybody get the free health analysis at lmclinic.com. That's lmclinic.com.
You can't control what's happening in the world. You can't control gas prices or what the market does tomorrow, but you can control whether your retirement is protected when the unexpected hits. That's what Rajiv Nagaich has dedicated his career to helping families do. Not just picking investments, but building one plan that brings your healthcare, housing, legal, and financial decisions together into a single strategy. A strategy designed to keep you out of a nursing home, protect your assets, and keep your family from becoming your unpaid caregivers. If the last weeks have made you uneasy about your future, you need help. Join Rajiv at a free 90-minute seminar this May. You'll see where most plans fall short and how yours doesn't have to.
Register for a free LifePoint Law Retirement Planning Seminar in Puyallup on May 5th, Federal Way on May 6th, Bellevue on May 7th, or Linwood on May 12th. Seminars begin at 6:30 p.m. Space is limited, so sign up at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show on Seattle Red 770 AM, online at seattlered.com. My next guest is the editor-in-chief of The Federalist. She's a Fox News contributor. She's one of the sharpest journalists covering the intersection of law and politics in the country. She's got a brand new book. It was an instant New York Times bestseller. It's phenomenal. It's called Alito, the Justice Who Reshaped the Supreme Court and Restored the Constitution. She had some really great inside access, inner circles, the actual justices, and this is the first comprehensive portrait of the man many are now calling the most consequential jurist of our time. And it drops, of course, at the exact moment that Justice Sam Alito handed down another landmark ruling, this time, quote unquote, hollowing out Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Molly Hemingway, as her friends call her, a 3-time New York Times bestselling author. Welcome to the show.
It is great to be here with you, Jason.
So the book, and I'm currently in the middle of it. I got the audio book, which we'll talk about in a bit. But it basically makes the case that Justice Alito has kind of been hiding in plain sight, right?
Well, we know so much about the other justices. There have been books written about them. They write books about themselves. And for people on the right in particular, there's Justice Scalia, who's this larger-than-life figure, and then Justice Thomas, who's beloved by literally everybody. And Alito is shy, and he doesn't really seek attention. He doesn't like attention, and yet he's been behind some of these absolute monster decisions, including this week. And so it seemed to me that we should know more about him, and I'm glad I wrote it because I realized other people want to know more about him as well.
Why do you think it is that it took this long for someone to really dive into a guy who's written really consequential decisions like Dobbs?
You know, for me, it was something I decided to do when some of his own colleagues had told me and Carrie Severino that they thought it was weird that nobody was talking about him because they considered him such a giant on the court. They say he's the best at oral argument. He's brilliant. He keeps majorities together. And so when prominent people say something like that, it's an indication that, something should be done. But I myself have wondered why people haven't talked about it more. Now, I will say there's a certain type of conservative attorney in Washington that has always said that while the others get the more attention, they follow Alito. And I think that's only becoming more true now as the conservative movement is figuring out that they need to balance principle and wins. People aren't satisfied with just having the right principles. They want to see some victories achieved. And into that, I think Alito provides that perfect model of balancing principle and achieving victory.
And there might be some irony in early on in the book, you write about when he was put on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals as a judge, he was being questioned at the same time that at the time, just Judge Souter was also getting his hearing, and everyone was focused on that because they were like, he's the one who's going to get onto the Supreme Court, probably not Alito.
And then Souter does get on the court, but he ends up not being that influential. He was very influential in stuff like KCB, Planned Parenthood, where he helped reinstate Roe v. Wade under a different rubric. But, he has kind of a short career on the court and doesn't end up being particularly influential. He also ends up being a complete and utter liberal, despite being nominated by a Republican. But it's then Alito who just passes in, under the radar and becomes this major figure.
You describe him as a Burkean conservative, I think. What does that mean for someone at home?
Well, when a lot of people have noticed this about him, they think he is in the line of an Edmund Burke, who cared deeply about tradition and culture and conservative values. When we look again at who many of the Supreme Court justices that we pay attention to, even on the right, they tend to be more liberty-minded as opposed to traditional or culturally minded. And Alito is not that. If Gorsuch and Thomas and Scalia are these great, almost libertarian justices, Alito's really the one for the conservatives. And he's always been conservative. You even hear it in his confirmation hearings that he cares a lot about the values of a community and ensuring that those values are not under attack by the government. He says it in his writings when he's at the DOJ during the Reagan administration, and then it clearly comes through in his jurisprudence now.
Well, let's talk about this case that dropped this week, Louisiana v. Kalis, I think it's pronounced. He wrote the majority opinion. He effectively neutered at least a portion of the Voting Rights Act that was being abused, frankly, by Democrats who wanted us to think that, the sort of proportional representation by race is mandated by the Voting Rights Act, and we have to create these weird maps that snake, 250 miles around a state in order to have a, quote-unquote black majority district, a second one, which, as it turns out, the law didn't actually require. Democrats are responding to this very similar, at least in rhetoric, than the way they responded to Dobbs, which is this is the end of the world. Black people will not be able to vote now. This is Jim Crow 2.0. How much of that that sort of manufactured outrage actually works when someone like Alito on an issue like this issues the kind of decision he issued?
Well, this is, again, the kind of decision that should have been issued a very long time ago. He didn't neuter the Voting Rights Act. He, in fact, upheld it. He neutered the misapplication of it. So you'd had a bunch of confusing and conflicting rulings essentially saying to states that they had to be racist when creating electoral districts. And we know that couldn't be true because the 15th Amendment of the Constitution explicitly forbids states from being racist with anything to do with election laws. And that was passed in the aftermath of, that was like the post-Civil War situation where the Supreme Court is passing these things to deal with people who are being racist. But it had somehow been interpreted to mean you can't create like majority white districts, but you have to create majority black districts. And and for the purpose of, a particular outcome, it didn't make any sense. And he said, well, clearly the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, could never have meant that. And so you get a 6-person majority saying, stop interpreting the Voting Rights Act in this way that is racist and directly in contradiction with the 15th Amendment to the Constitution.
Molly Hemingway joining me on the line. She's the author of a brand new book. It's out right now. It's called Alito, the Justice Who Reshaped the Supreme Court and Restored the Constitution. I'm in the middle of it. It's fantastic. I hope everyone goes out and purchases it today. What was something that was shocking to you or surprising to you as you were researching his life?
Well, I just have to say the most shocking thing I learned while reporting this book was the behavior of Elena Kagan on the court following the Dobbs leak, when she intentionally delayed the release of the decision, even as her colleagues were all having their lives threatened. But as for him, I think maybe his sense of humor and how, because he's so reserved, it doesn't come across in his public life so much, not that he even has much of a public life. But his clerks would always talk about his sense of humor, how much he cared for them. He had this, it was difficult to find people to speak against him. And I interviewed nearly 100 people from all stages of life. And he's someone who's just been well regarded. I also think it was fun to explore his interesting, he's so reserved and his wife is so colorful. And I think, we learned more about that as the New York Times decided to go to war with his wife and say that, when she flew a flag from the Revolutionary War era, that meant that she was an insurrectionist or something absurd. And that was fun to learn about, too.
How did the decision to hold on to the Dobbs leak impact the relationship? What is his relationship like with other justices?
Right. So throughout the history of the Supreme Court, you've had a lot of concern with people about maintaining the friendships on the court because they're all appointed for life. There are only 9 of them. It's much easier if you all get along. And they have, for the most part, gotten along. When the Dobbs leak happened, that just disrupted everything at the court. Nobody thought a justice did it, but they definitely assumed a clerk or senior staff member had done it. And so that meant you didn't know who you could trust within the court. And then even though the draft had been done since February, and we know because we saw it that the final document was essentially exactly the same as the draft, they were just waiting on a dissent. And they asked the dissenters, could you please wrap it up because we're wearing bulletproof vests, our houses are on the internet and people are coming and attacking every night and, people are trying to kill us. And if they did kill us, it would affect the outcome of this case. So could you wrap it up so that we can get it out and then people will have less incentive to kill us? And instead, they just slow-walked it, maliciously slow-walked it. And I think they still get along pretty well, but I'm kind of shocked by that because how could you get along well with someone who knew that your life was under threat and didn't care enough to help you get out of that situation?
I mean, speaking of under threat, how serious do you believe that the institution itself is under threat? Hakeem Jeffries earlier this week says everything's on the table in dealing with this, quote unquote, MAGA majority, which is a clear reference to stacking the court. We've heard this for a long time, including from Seattle's Pramila Jayapal. That's their end goal.
We're seeing so many people, high and low, attack people and institutions. You have the attempted assassinations of Trump, the successful assassination of Charlie Kirk. You have these attacks on the institutions that preserve our form of government, our liberty. You have high-level people, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, even like Barack Obama he's been a little less bad, I guess, than Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, threatening to pack the court or threatening violence on the justices, as Chuck Schumer did, if they didn't vote the way he wanted them to. It's a very dangerous norm-breaking situation. Even some of the liberal justices are breaking these norms by attacking their colleagues publicly. That's never done, and attacking the integrity of the court. If you don't have rule of law in this country, it's a pretty quick and slippery slope to a very bad situation.
Indeed it is. You've got not only the hardcover out, but you also have the audiobook. I always recommend people get both, especially if you got an Audible account. You get your credits. Everyone probably has a bunch left. And I like to promote the audiobook in particular because when I wrote my book, What's Killing America, like you, I had to go into a tiny studio without any air conditioning because the microphones are hypersensitive and pick it all up. And you just have to read your own work for hours and hours and hours while someone is listening to everything that you say as the director, and they can say, well, you mispronounced that name. What was the process like for you? And at what point did you regret writing a book as long as it was?
Well, Jason, this is my third book, and the first one I had a co-author, Carrie Severino, and so we alternated chapters. For the second one, it was during COVID. They wouldn't let me read it, and I got a lot of complaints about the narration. So I insisted on reading this one, and I will tell you that it's a little personal, but I found out my dad died an hour before I began recording, and I knew he was near death, so I was trying to get it done so I could get home to be with my family. But man, I barely remember doing it because I just was in such a mad dash to get done. But I did check out my Audible narrator ratings. And I was very pleased that I had a high rating for that.
It's very good. That again, every time I'm on a bus or in a light rail or in the car, I'm listening to you narrate. And I'm going to brag though for a minute because I've got 2 minutes on your book. Mine is 10 hours and 25 minutes. Yours is 10 hours and 23 minutes. And I was miserable the entire time.
Yeah, it's an experience nobody can understand. Like, you have to be careful what you eat so that your stomach doesn't crumble. You have to wear clothing that doesn't make any sound. If you have like the slightest scratchiness, it can affect you. You have to re-record. But I had a great team, and I'm very thankful for them, too.
I hope people will check it out. Again, it's available right now. It's called Alito, the Justice Who Reshaped the Supreme Court and Restored the Constitution. It's an instant New York Times bestseller. So if you don't already have it, you're missing out on what everyone else is enjoying. Purchase it now. Molly Hemingway, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.
Again, it's Alito, the Justice Who Reshaped the Supreme Court and Restored the Constitution. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
Are you trying to get weight loss support through telehealth, but it feels overwhelming and rushed? Check out Orderly Meds now. OrderlyMeds.com was built to be different. Here you connect with real doctors who take the time to understand your goals, review your eligibility, and guide you through a plan that's right for you. Orderly Meds provides access to proven GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide, including both name brand options and personalized compounded versions when appropriate. So you have choices backed by clinical oversight, not guesswork. It's a simpler, more supportive telehealth experience designed around people who want clarity, care, and confidence in their weight loss journey. And your medication is delivered directly to your home in discreet packaging, so your experience stays private from start to finish. Do your research, ask the right questions, then visit orderlymeds.com/radio for an exclusive offer. Again, that's orderlymeds.com/radio. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Summer will be here before you know it.
Is your yard ready? Natural Design Landscaping has over 30 years of experience designing, building, and maintaining beautiful outdoor spaces across Seattle and the East Side. Now is the time to plan your patio, water feature, or full landscape makeover so you can enjoy it all summer long. Mention Seattle Red and get 10% off your first service. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com, naturaldesignlandscape.com to schedule your consultation. Natural Design Landscaping. Let's build something wonderful together.
KTTH is now Seattle Red.
We must think big.
The same conservative voices you trust, now on a bigger platform. Learn how Seattle Red is amplifying the conservative movement in Seattle at seattlered.com. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
From a NATO ally, I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Pentagon announcing 5,000 troops will be withdrawing from Germany over the next 6 months to a year. This coming as President Trump has criticized Germany for what he says is their lack of help with the strikes in Iran.
There are 38,000 American troops stationed there right now. It's going to take 6 to 12 months for this to happen. And the Department of War says they're doing this because they just finished a review of the force posture in Europe.
Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House. In July 2020, President Trump ordered 12,000 troops to withdraw from Germany, but Congress pushed back and it was not completed before Joe Biden took office. This, as the president says, negotiations are still open with Iran, but so far there's no agreement.
Iran delivered the text of a new proposal through a mediator in Pakistan. The details have not been revealed, but President Trump says he's not impressed. So far, Tehran has shelved any talks about nuclear weapons, and analysts say negotiations are likely to move slowly.
Fox's Ashley Webster in Tel Aviv. This afternoon, the president spoke at the Florida 55-plus community, The Villages.
We're here to celebrate a policy that benefits every American senior all across this land, and it's called No Tax on Social Security. It's done. It's done.
The president claims he's done more for seniors than any other president, but Democrats argue he's making basic needs for seniors unaffordable. A federal appeals court has restricted access to one of the most common means of abortion in the U.S. by blocking mailing of prescriptions of mifepristone.
The decision overturns the 2023 federal rule adopted under the Biden administration for now. It's the first major ruling limiting mifepristone access following several attempts since the drug was first approved in 2000.
Fox's Laura Cantor. America's listening to Fox News.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Thinking about starting your GLP-1 journey? Go to orderlymeds.com/radio. Get access to proven GLP-1 medications, licensed providers, and a plan built for real life. All online. No guesswork, no wasted time. Just real people, real answers, real momentum, and support that actually lasts. Join thousands already seeing results. Start now at orderlymeds.com/radio. orderlymeds.com/radio. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Coach! The yellow light! I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We're here on Seattle Red, 770 a.m. online at seattlered.com. We got a ton to get to this Friday afternoon, including something that used to be free is now going to cost us money because Sound Transit is incompetent at what it is that they do. We'll get into that and much, much more. But first, is it true that Mark Zuckerberg and Tim Cook want to purchase the Seahawks? That's what's trending. Brought to you by Legacy Group Capital, Common Sense Lending.
What's trending? The sports ball.
The Seattle Seahawks are for sale. And over the course of the last 24 hours or so, the sports media world, locally and nationally, kind of went sideways because for about 4 hours, at least, everyone thought Mark Zuckerberg of Meta and Tim Cook, soon to be formerly of Apple officially, were riding into Seattle to buy the team. Here's what actually happened. So the Seahawks were put up for sale on February 18th. We talked about that back when it occurred. This was about a week and a half or so after the Super Bowl win for the Seahawks. And we knew that this was happening because the Paul Allen estate was said to have to sell at that point. It's part of a long process of divesting Paul Allen's assets and directing all the proceeds to philanthropy, which is what he intended. Now, the Trailblazers already went through all of this. The sale closed in March, I believe, late March, and it was north of like $4 billion. So the Seahawks are going through the same process, but it's a little bit different of an animal, right? This is valued anywhere between $8 to $10 billion or so. So they're expected to shatter the record that was set by, I'm told, by Seattle Sports. Washington Commanders back in 2023, they sold for a little over $6 billion. So everyone's essentially been waiting for the first real names to surface. Who can actually purchase this? And, there was that rumor about a month ago or so that Elon Musk was interested, but no one understands where that rumor came from. It didn't come from Elon because he said he's not interested. And so yesterday, Front Office Sports dropped what they called this exclusive. They talked to 5 sources, and they were told that Mark Zuckerberg was considering a bid. 4 sources said that Tim Cook was separately thinking about, offering a bid. And they say there's at least 4 potential majority buyers in total. And, that's a lot of sources, so it has to be right. But within hours of the reporting, the whole thing started to collapse. Bloomberg reported that Zuckerberg and Cook were, quote unquote, not interested. A Meta spokesperson said, quote, glad we could intercept the rumors on this one. Oh, God. Mark isn't making an investment, no bid, nothing at all. There was a source that was, again, to Bloomberg that's close to Tim Cook, who denied he was making a bid. And then the original reporter of that Front Office Sports piece on his own social media posted that a source close to Apple called it completely false. And he added that the spokespeople for both had, quote, ample opportunity to deny our report before it came out. Which, okay, that's a fair point. I don't know if they just, didn't want to respond to Front Office Sports because they don't know what that is. I have no idea if that's a big sports blog or not. I've never heard of them, but also they could be huge and I would never hear of them because I don't live in that world. I don't read those blogs. But, it was notable whenever you get these kinds of massive scoops coming from completely, let's just say, non-traditional mainstream media. It doesn't mean it's wrong, but we should maybe be a little bit more suspect of it. So at the same time, I can also say if Zuckerberg wanted to purchase or Tim Cook wanted to purchase, and I'm them, I would lie to the press because doesn't it have some costs associated with being open about that? Isn't there some implications as to whether or not you might be driving up the price now that they know who's involved? So, I mean, again, with respect to Front Office Sports, they could be completely right and Meta and Apple are lying. And I would lie if I were Mark Zuckerberg or Tim Cook at this point too. But we did go from Zuckerberg and Tim Cook are buying the Seahawks to, no, they're not, in about half of a news cycle. Now, setting aside the rumor, this is always a little bit hard to believe on its face. NFL rules require a controlling owner to hold at least 30% of the team. That, according to NBC Sports. And Zuckerberg is worth over $200 billion. So he could write the check without blinking. Tim Cook's is a different story. His net worth is around $2.9 billion, according to NBC Sports. And obviously, that's a lot of money. However, if you need to come up with 30% of a $10 billion franchise, the math doesn't work unless people are just giving him a whole bunch of money. Now he could be a minority partner. And maybe that's what originally the sources were trying to pursue. I don't know. But the other wrinkle is that Jody Allen, who's running the estate, she's going to be very deliberate about who she sells to. And I imagine she's not going to hand the team to someone who moves it. Paul Allen bought the Seahawks in, 1997? And it was specifically to keep them in Seattle, and that part matters. So I don't know if going with a Mark Zuckerberg or a Tim Cook suggests that they would stay or if it makes it more likely that they would go. Neither of them live here or have ties here. So where this currently stands is where it stood a day and a half ago, where the team's still for sale. And, Cuomo's out there talking to man on the street, doing man on the street interviews, or women on the street interview, people on the street interviews, because we don't gender on this show. And they've got all hot takes. My favorite one is going up to just some random, I'm hoping at least as a fan, to say, who do you think should buy the team? As if...
What do you think about either of them buying the Seahawks?
Well, for sure they have the money. I heard about Ballmer, and I would love to see him jumping around and singing.
Oh, God. Steve Ballmer. So you heard about him owning, the Clippers? And you that's a useless piece of audio that Cuomo had to include in their story. Director of the Sports and Management Program at SU, Dr. Natalie Welch, who I think we've made fun of on the show before, says the bidding war is more entertaining than the actual games for some people. Oh, God.
The fact that we're talking about it and following it is kind of like a sport within of itself, right?
It's not. No, it's not. It's not. Can we just not? This is like the equivalent of talking to someone who wants to make the argument, well, some people like the commercials more on the Super Bowl.
Who maybe don't even watch games, but they're interested in like the ecosystem of sport. That's a big group to kind of get organized, to get all on the same page. Just the fact of buying the team, not alone like how the team is managed and how you deal with the operation.
Look, the bottom line is we don't know who the real bidders are, or even if they exist at this point. I'm assuming that they do exist, but who knows? It still might be a little bit too early. We're not going to get deals that are as large as something like this coming together overnight. But what I'll say as a general fan of sports, to the degree that I want them to do well locally because it's good for the economy, whoever buys the team better understand what they're getting, because this is not just a franchise. And, this isn't even just a Super Bowl team, right? This is a city-loved team. And I think for the most part, they were able to navigate some of the wokeness, but not entirely. And the reality is that's always going to be weighing in the background, putting pressure on this team the same way they put pressure on other teams. Mariners, I think, handle it the best. Sounders, the worst. Seahawks have been somewhere in the middle. And I'm okay if they stay in the middle versus leaning towards the wokeness. And I just hope we don't get a team owner that expects that because, it's progressive Seattle. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to weigh in. And you can send me a text as to who you think should be the owner, and I will pretend to care. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? International.
So Iran delivered a new negotiation proposal to Pakistani mediators late last night. The White House response today was about as warm as you'd expect, essentially a diplomatic shrug. President then, speaking with reporters before heading over to the Villages in Florida, was all like, yeah, hard pass.
So they want to make a deal, but I'm not satisfied with it, so we'll see what happens. Iran wants to make a deal because they have no military left, essentially, and they want to make a deal, but I'm not satisfied with it.
Now, it's baby steps, I guess, in the right direction, because Iran, what they're proposing, and you got to pay close attention because this is where Tehran thinks it can maybe outmaneuver the United States and Donald Trump, but it can't. The offer was, let's solve the Strait of Hormuz problem first. We end the blockade, we extend the ceasefire permanently, and then maybe at some undefined, undetermined later date, maybe we're going to talk about the nuclear stuff. Well, yeah, we'll get around to it. Don't worry. We got you. But obviously, Trump's not going to allow for that. And the fact that they want to solve the Strait of Hormuz problem first is our biggest leverage point. They are feeling the pain. They're feeling the pain. And what Democrats are proposing here in stopping this blockade and just giving in is essentially asking the president and thereby the United States to give up our leverage before the hard conversation even starts. And if Trump were to lift this blockade and Iran reopens the Strait of Hormuz, the global oil market stabilized, no doubt, and that's good for us. But that means the economic pressure on Tehran goes away. It just completely evaporates. And suddenly the Ayatollahs have zero reason to make any concessions on enrichment. They pocket the win. They stall indefinitely on nukes. We see their economy start to rebound. And we've seen that movie before. It was the Obama-Iran deal. And it ended with Iran closer to a bomb than when we started. It's just so unbelievably silly. But at the same time, you've got the War Powers Act, which is coming up, I think, tomorrow. And the president is dismissing that.
Why are you not seeking congressional approval to extend it?
Because it's never been sought before. There's been many times, and nobody's ever gotten it before. They consider it totally unconstitutional. But we're always in touch with Congress. But nobody's ever sought it before. Nobody's ever asked for it before. It's never been used before. Why should we be different?
And not that I disagree with him, but there's some political considerations here, right? So he could just get the Congress to give him the green light, and he does have enough Republican votes to move that forward. However, that becomes a political issue because it's clearly not popular right now. And maybe it never becomes popular what it is he's doing here, even though it's the right thing. And he's willing to take the political hit. But by having Congress get involved and giving him the green light, that could harm individual races versus what they can just do, which is not vote on it at this point. And yeah, that could still hurt them politically, but just not nearly as much because it allows individuals to take positions, verbally at least, in their districts without having to back it up with a vote. I mean, that's just the reality. And Trump understands that, but his underlying issue there and what he said is 100% correct. That we're putting a standard on Trump that we didn't put under Biden or under Obama or under Bush because they just don't like Donald Trump on the left. And of course, the media is going to cover all of this like Trump is somehow being reckless, like he's the one escalating. And no, he's not. Now, could there be some escalation as a means to really ramp up the pressure? There's no doubt that the military operation has been extremely successful, but we paused that. It's similarly undoubted that this Strait of Hormuz blockade has been extremely successful. It's putting on a ton of economic pressure. Their currency is in the toilet. Their economy is at a standstill. But it's not done yet. So if you maybe ramp up some of the military pressure at a time where the economic pressure is really strong, that might be a winning ticket. That really might end this quickly. Richard Blumenthal, the senator from Connecticut who pretended to be a decorated war veteran from Vietnam or something, Google it, he said he believes the military strikes are going to start up again. He was on CNN.
I do have the impression from some of the briefings that I have received, as well as other sources, that an imminent military strike is very much on the table.
And by the way, it should be on the table, yeah.
Which is deeply disturbing because it could well involve American sons and daughters in harm's way and potential massive casualties.
So, of course, he's adding that last part. Have we had any troops on the ground in Iran? No. We don't need to do that.
I can't be more specific because I received at least one of these briefings, several of them in classified settings, but I'm not saying with any certainty as to when it would happen, but very much on the table as a potential plan.
Yeah, of course it's on the table. Everything is on the table. This idea that something is imminent because it's on the table doesn't necessarily hold. But at the same time, it's not like I don't think it should be on the table. I genuinely do believe it should be on the table. Seriously. I don't know why you wouldn't. I can't remember who he was. It was a retired general on Fox News this morning around 6 a.m. or so, who, when he was asked whether or not we should resume military strikes, he's like, yeah, I think we should, because we're in a really good spot right now, and Iran is in a really weakened spot. Congressman James Walkinshaw from Virginia, Democrat, pretends we don't have any leverage whatsoever.
You know, in terms of the negotiations, I think it's important to note we've been in the same position that we were in before President Trump launched the war, negotiating around the same issues, right? There are reports that there were negotiations around a 5-year suspension of Iran's nuclear program or a 20-year suspension. That's the same conversation taking place before the war. Only difference is the Strait of Hormuz is closed, gas prices are way up.
Well, actually, because the Strait of Hormuz is closed, the economic leverage point is real. We're actually able to leverage that over them. And by the way, as oil executives are pointing out, it's the U.S. and our newly sort of passionate drive for domestic oil production. And because of what happened in Venezuela, we're the ones who are helping to ease some of the pains globally. Now, again, their pain, their pain points. There's no doubt. As the price of gas is expensive. Price of oil is expensive. But he is being very disingenuous and very bad faith in this. But, a Democrat who's disingenuous and bad faith, I'm shocked. I can't believe it. Never could I ever even imagine a Democrat taking a position like that. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Legal.
8 firefighters in Snohomish County asked for religious accommodation from the COVID vaccine mandate. And their employer said, no. They said it was too much of a hardship. And so they put these men on unpaid leave. But the thing that they don't want us talking about is that neighboring fire departments had apparently zero problem accommodating them. The vaccinated firefighters were literally working side by side with the unvaccinated responders from those other departments. So what exactly was the hardship? Now the case is headed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Jennifer Kennedy is one of the attorneys fighting for these 8 men. And she says this isn't just about them. This is about every single religious employee in the country. Jennifer Kennedy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jason. So glad to be here. And you're exactly right. It's not just about these 8 Snohomish firefighters any longer.
It really isn't. And I'm obviously grateful that you're fighting for the 8, but I'm as grateful that really the fight that you're taking on and your 8 clients are taking on is for this country. So walk me through what happened to these 8 men. They asked for this accommodation from Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue, and they were just told no.
Well, here's the thing. They were granted, actually the department granted their religious exemption, absolutely saying you have sincerely held religious beliefs that conflict with taking that COVID shot, but they said, we just can't accommodate you. Now, mind you, this was after the men had already worked the entirety of the pandemic on the front lines without vaccination, with no trouble at all. And despite the fact that they allowed the men to work up until the midnight hour of when their mandatory deadline was, there was literally no point in time that this department was not working with an unvaccinated firefighter. Just like you said, on mutual aid with the other firefighters, Snohomish is the hole in the donut, and all the departments around it accommodated their people. And Snohomish had no problem with their vaccinated crews mixing with the unvaccinated, except our guys.
So how do they defend that? How do they actually defend that? Or have they gone on record defending that?
Yes, they have. And that is the problem here, because the way they defend it is they say, oh, but we might have been concerned. We might have had a concern that maybe the unvaccinated had a higher risk of getting COVID, and therefore they might have caused infection, which might have caused a financial damage. They are working in hindsight. They're looking back at the reality of what truly happened, which was no hardship at all. And they're saying, yeah, but it might have. It might have been bad.
But doesn't that even fail the smell test there? Because we know the vaccine didn't stop the spread of COVID.
And the department admitted it. Back in July of 2021, the department said, we understand you can get it from talking and breathing normally, and the shot doesn't do what we thought it did. It wasn't a magic bullet. The problem is that the Ninth Circuit has decided in this case that even if in reality we can see that the accommodation worked and that there was no undue hardship, even if that exists, as long as the employer can come up with some kind of evidence of a reasonable concern of hardship, then that's enough.
Wow. So then what's the difference between a reasonable concern of hardship and actual hardship?
Jason, that's the point. The reasonable concern in court is we need to see evidence of it. And that's what the Groff versus DeJoy case did for us in 2023.
That's a U.S. Supreme Court case.
U.S. Supreme Court landmark 9-0 unanimous decision where the Supreme Court really heightened the bar for protecting religious employees in the workplace. And they said, if you're going to be excused from accommodating the religious conflict of your employee, you had better show us some real evidence. What is the hard cost to your business operations? What's the dollar number? Where is the harm? That's what Groff said. And unfortunately, ever since Groff, now that was pre-COVID, when COVID rolled in, it's as if a whole new world happened, and our courts are divided on how they are applying Groff in these COVID mandate contexts.
And I think there have been 6 circuit courts, correct, that have tried to figure out what all this means since Groff?
You're right. We have, and we got a split, a real even split with 3 of the circuits that are citing, like the Ninth. They're saying a reasonable concern without true hard evidence is enough. And then there are 3 circuits that are faithfully applying Groff, and they're really demanding the hard proof of where is the hardship. And of course, the 2 circuits, we've got both coasts, First Circuit, New York, Ninth Circuit, California, they're both the ones saying that reasonable concern is going to be enough.
So then does that strengthen your case for review?
It certainly does, because that is what the Supreme Court's job is in this country. When there is disarray in the district courts on how they are applying the law of the land, obviously Supreme Court decisions, the Supreme Court needs to step in and correct and clarify. And in fact, that's what the Supreme Court did in Groff. After 50 years of allowing the most trivial reasons to let an employer escape liability for not accommodating, the Supreme Court said enough. And that's what Groff did. It clarified in the religious accommodation concept what you are going to have to show as an employer. So now we have the chance, post-COVID, to get in there quickly and really clarify, does Groff mean what it says? Is it going to be faithfully applied for religious employees, or was it window dressing?
What happens to the firefighters if they decline at the Supreme Court level to take up this case?
The sad truth of the Supreme Court declining cert is that the case is at an end. That is the end of the road for litigation. We are certainly praying that that's not the case, because once again, it goes so far beyond Snohomish and these 8 firefighters. This is going to affect certainly everyone immediately in the Ninth Circuit and across the nation, because they look to these decisions for guidance. And unfortunately, it will, you know what it's doing? It's really undermining the landmark Groff decision, and it's taking us back to those days where religious employees really couldn't be certain they would be protected by their employer.
Well, and perhaps that's why we look at this case and hope it has a little bit of an edge. Most cases obviously don't get heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. And if there was ever a court to take on this kind of case, we would want this current makeup to look at a case like this. We obviously wish you the best of luck. How can people help if they wanted to?
We have, of course, we've got a site for, you know what? Here's the thing. I have to give a shout out to First Liberty Institute, who is sponsoring this case, and to Williams and Connolly and Lisa Blatt in D.C., who are presenting this. If you donate to First Liberty, you can support our effort and all of First Liberty's efforts for religious freedom in all their cases. That's one of the first places to go for people to support. And attorneys within the sound of my voice, if you'd like to file an amicus brief, we would love to have it.
Love it. The website is firstliberty.org. It's all spelled out, so F-I-R-S-T, firstliberty.org. We've been talking with attorney Jennifer Kennedy. Good luck on this case. We'll be standing by, hoping that the Supreme Court does the right thing and takes on this case.
Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show. When we come back, we're going to dive into the big local right here on Seattle Red, 770 AM, online at seattlered.com.
When was the last time someone reviewed your tax return looking for opportunity, not just accuracy? For most people, a tax return is something you file and forget. But what if it's actually a snapshot of decisions made, opportunities missed, and strategies waiting to be uncovered? At Madrona Financial and CPAs, your return isn't just paperwork, it's a roadmap. Brian Evans, CEO and host of Growing Your Wealth, is hosting a live workshop called Your Tax Return Treasure Hunt. In this interactive seminar, he'll walk you through the major schedules of your return, helping you identify missed planning opportunities and disconnects between your tax return and your long-term financial goals. Because your return already tells a story. To reserve your seat, visit madronafinancial.com or call 833-673-7373. And be sure to catch Growing Your Wealth Saturdays at 7 a.m.
This is a paid advertisement. Investments involve risk. See full disclosures at madronafinancial.com.
Hey, North Sound and Eastside homeowners, it's Jason Rantz. If your furnace is getting older or not keeping up, now's the perfect time to check out CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. Right now, when you upgrade your cooling system with CM Heating, you can get a free furnace on select systems. Yes, free. And for a limited time, you'll also get a free clean air upgrade. Plus, CM Home Comfort Advisors are tax credit and rebate experts, so they're going to help you get every incentive available. CM Heating also offers a free in-home estimate for system replacement so you can understand all your options first. And if your heating or cooling system breaks down, CM Heating's award-winning technicians can fix it fast with zero service call fees with approved repair. Whether you need a repair or a full upgrade, do not wait. Visit cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate or repair today. But hurry, the free clean air upgrade special won't last.
License CMHEAHL 751LW, CMHEAHL 754L3, CMHEAHL 750LP.
For over 50 years, Bucky's Complete Auto Repair has been the one locals trust for honest pricing, expert service, and guaranteed repairs. This dedication has earned them a Carfax Preferred designation. At Bucky's, every customer gets detailed Carfax updates, timely service reminders, and a full service history, all at your fingertips. With 16 family-owned locations, no appointment needed, and easy financing, Bucky's makes auto care simple. Visit Bucky's.com today and drive with confidence. Bucky's.com.
The first few steps that I took in the morning were pretty painful.
This is Carlos.
I mean, I had been told by multiple orthopedic surgeons that there was no alternative for me.
That wasn't what he wanted to hear. You see, Carlos is an active guy.
I played basketball, and for 3 to 4 days after, my knees would just be so swollen. And now I can play basketball, and there is no swelling. There is no pain in the knees.
No swelling, no pain, because Carlos went to see Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine for stem cell therapy.
I'm just happy to be able to be out there. And then knowing that tomorrow I am not going to suffer for this.
What do you say to your friends and family who are in pain?
I say, I had horrible knee pain and stem cells really worked for me. You might want to go to Dr. Wagner, just get a consultation before you have surgery.
Consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Schedule your consultation at drmarkwagnermd.com.
Let's be honest. The National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show him you love him. Keep him safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We know what it's like being a Seattle conservative.
These people. Do you believe it?
It's the reason we created SeattleRed.com.
When the tents come back 2 days later.
Local news without the liberal spin.
How could you call that a success with a straight face?
Exclusives like video content and opinions you won't get anywhere else.
Financial markets, by the way, bucking the Democratic narrative on this war.
Make it the first thing you read every day.
Is that soft power or hard power?
SeattleRed.com.
Olympia, Sammamish, Lakewood, Bellevue.
This is the Big Local on the Jason Rantz Show.
Bellingham, Kirkland, Z-Town.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
Hey, look at the time, 4:30 on a weekday afternoon. That means it's time for the Big Local, brought to you by the Scott Jennings Show. Weeknights, 8 to 10, right here on Seattle Red, 770 AM, online at seattlered.com. This is a part of the show where we completely ignore the stories coming out of Seattle and instead focus all of our attention on the communities you live in and care about most. Starting today, May 1st, if you're not listening today, and maybe on the weekend, it's already happened. But as of now, Sound Transit is charging you to park at Northgate and Shoreline, both of the light rail stations. $60 a month, $6 a day for a parking garage that your tax dollars built, that you were told to use. In fact, you were told part of the perks of taking light rail, if you drive, is just park at the light rail station, hop on the train, and sure, you would prefer to have a more direct line, but this is the best you can get. We're going to deliver it to you. You should do it. The whole pitch for why you should support the transit system in the first place was having access to these parking garages. But let's be clear about what happened. Sound Transit spent years telling you to drive to the station, park, and then take the train. That was the sell. Then they built you the garages that weren't large enough. Then you struggled, but you still tried to make it work. Some of you left a little bit earlier than you otherwise would have, so you can get that parking spot because you truly wanted to make this work. And that's what you did. And enough people bought into it where they still said, yeah, we're always at 100% capacity every single morning. People are showing up at 7:30. The lot's already full. And so we're going to have to start charging you. The solution was to charge you. And the funny thing is, we knew that this problem was going to happen years ago and I remember not only doing the radio segment, but I remember doing a written piece about how they didn't have enough parking spots. And the one that we covered was, I believe it was in Redmond, but it's the same issue that we know, as a matter of fact, they weren't going to have enough parking. We just knew it because the number of spots that they had revealed at the time was so absurdly low that it didn't have to be popular for them to sell out. And yet they decided to put their heads down and just continue on with their plan. And now we're paying a price for that. And what should make you laugh about all of this, the shoreline permits sold out within a week because they only made 5 to 10% of the spots paid permit spots. So they haven't even solved the parking problem in any meaningful way. They've just carved out a small piece of the garage, sort of putting it behind a paywall, and left everyone else to fight over the scraps, I guess, at 6 a.m. in the morning. The crush of people competing for parking is still there. It's still your problem, except now the city or the agency is making some money off of it. Here's one light rail user talking to Como.
I don't care for it.
I think this will discourage people from using the link, myself included. Well, they say one of the most genius business ideas is creating a problem and then selling the solution.
Yep.
So by not providing enough parking for all of us, they're selling us the solution.
Someone give this woman a pat on the back. 100% correct. 100% correct. That's exactly what it is they did. And one of the commuters did the math in this piece. $6 fare, $6 parking, $12 round trip to take a train. At that point, why not just drive downtown and deal with some of the traffic? Right? At some point, you just say, Here's another commuter who says they should only have permit parking on certain days.
It's probably a good idea for days where there's games at the stadiums or big events downtown, but otherwise I think it's a bad idea.
Okay,
if I have to pay to get here at 5:45 or 6 a.m., that might be a distraction, and I might go to continue Mount Lake Terrace.
And by the way, and this is something I didn't realize until I saw some of the reporting, Sound Transit's ST3 plan already called for daily parking fees starting in 2027. So this isn't a response to a crisis. It appears it was always the plan. They just moved it up and rebranded it as some sort of permit program so that they can ease you into it, I guess. Look, they told you to park there. They collected your taxes to build the garages that they knew were going to be way too small. The garages are full, and now you pay even more. Welcome to Seattle Transit. That's what we do here. Meanwhile, Spokane is staring down another multi-million-dollar budget shortfall as they head into the next year. They're already having to deal with a $13 million hole going into this year. And now, how do they fill it? Tax hikes, fee hikes. There's some cuts, but they're pretty minor, the usual stuff. But the Salary Review Commission is meeting to decide whether Mayor Lisa Brown and the city council deserve raises again. So Mayor Brown is already pulling in $186,400 a year. The council president makes a little over $70,000. The 6 council members make $53,000, and they call it a part-time job. But in fairness, it's not a part-time job of the council. That is a full-time job. But at the last, meeting, they were talking about whether or not they're going to move forward with this, or should they encourage the commission, I guess, to give them some pay increases. And they're in a little. I'm going to side on the council issue, at least with them, in that I do think that $53,000 is absurd. And they should be making considerably more than that. And again, I believe that it's truly a full-time job. The mayor does not need more than $186,000 a year. That's absurd. And they already got a raise in 2024. That process was a mess. The commission first voted to reject the salary increases. Then they said it was an illegitimate procedural move, so they had to do it over, and then they flipped. The commissioner on the losing side made a motion to reconsider, which isn't allowed under the order, the rules. Then another commissioner changed her vote. It was just a total mess. And so I guess they're back for another round of all of this. And they have to decide by the end of this month. The first meeting is next week, May 8th. So whatever day that is. Was it Wednesday, I guess? Now, the good news is at least one of the commissioners, Reed Jensen, is already on the record. He's saying, look, I'm going to vote no. I don't need a whole lot of research time. That's rather refreshing. I kind of like that. He said elected officials shouldn't be enriching themselves from public service, which I agree. But, you know, I don't know if talking about a reasonable amount of money of like 60 grand, 70 grand, I don't know if that's enriching yourself. That seems to go a little bit overboard. Now, if they wanted like 200 grand, okay, fine. But I think they're worth a little bit more than what they're currently getting. Not the mayor, but it is a bad look, I think, when you're doing this at a time when you're already dealing with such a significant budget issue. Like, to me, that's a little crazy talk. To me. Now, we've got this written up over at SeattleRed.com. I hope you'll check it out. SeattleRed.com is the place to go for news and opinion without any of the left-wing spin. We had another really good April, another good month of numbers. Can we do even better in May, on this May day? I think we can, but not without your help. So head on over to SeattleRed.com. When we come back, it is Friday. Jake Skorheim stops by to talk youth sports and how exceptionally expensive it's become. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
It's a fact. When your eyes work correctly, light focuses through both your cornea and your lens to give you high-quality vision. Hi, it's Dr. Kopstein from K2 Vision. Here's another fact. As we near age 50, we begin to lose the quality and function of our natural lens. That's when we start to reach for reading glasses and contemplate those cataracts on the horizon, typically in our 70s or later, but inevitable if we get old enough. Fortunately, K2 Vision has the advanced permanent solution for both, refractive lens exchange, or RLE. K2 Vision RLE is a quick, painless procedure that restores distance and near vision permanently. Plus, another thing is permanent. You will never develop a cataract. After over 20 years replacing over 100,000 failing lenses, we will help you determine when it's your right time for RLE.
Schedule your free Zoom consult today at k2visionrle.com. K2 Vision RLE. No readers, glasses, contacts, or cataracts.
You can't control what's happening in the world. You can't control gas prices or what the market does tomorrow. But you can control whether your retirement is protected when the unexpected hits. That's what Rajiv Nagaich has dedicated his career to helping families do. Not just picking investments, but building one plan that brings your healthcare, housing, legal, and financial decisions together into a single strategy. A strategy designed to keep you out of a nursing home, protect your assets, and keep your family from becoming your unpaid caregivers. If the last weeks have made you uneasy about your future, you need help. Join Rajiv at a free 90-minute seminar this May. You'll see where most plans fall short and how yours doesn't have to.
Register for a free LifePoint Law Retirement Planning Seminar in Puyallup on May 5th, Federal Way on May 6th, Bellevue on May 7th, or Linwood on May 12th. Seminars begin at 6:30 p.m. Space is limited, so sign up at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com.
Leather's remodel sale is on now. While the world is raising prices at Leather's, we are lowering them. Over 200 pieces of quality furniture will be sold at half off. Mitch here, owner of Leather's, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. This is our largest selling event in 30 years. Gorgeous furniture for every room in the house will be sold at half off. Fabric, leather, and wood sold while they last at half off. Luxurious furniture in stock at liquidation prices. So hurry into Leather's giant remodel sale in Issaquah now.
If you've ever tried to get help for mental health, you know it's not simple. And for a lot of people, it feels like you're navigating it alone. Hero House Northwest is building communities where adults living with serious mental illness can show up, belong, and actually be part of something.
We've heard a lot of it lately is it's okay to not be okay and to share that with other people. And what Hero House Northwest and the Clubhouse model does is it really restores that sense of purpose and dignity, but also that self-esteem.
Inside these clubhouses, Clubhouses, CEO Kaylee Fiedler-Golke says people work side by side, building skills and supporting each other in ways traditional systems often don't.
People heal people. We need to be around other people. And I think it doesn't really matter where our backgrounds come from. It really is about that connection to others and feeling seen and heard.
Visit one of their featured clubhouses to explore employment and membership opportunities and ask questions in a welcoming environment. Go to herohousenw.org for full details.
For over 50 years, Bucky's Complete Auto Repair has been the one locals trust for honest pricing, expert service, and guaranteed repairs. This dedication has earned them a Carfax Preferred designation. At Bucky's, every customer gets detailed Carfax updates, timely service reminders, and a full service history, all at your fingertips. With 16 family-owned locations, no appointment needed, and easy financing, Bucky's makes auto care simple. Visit Bucky's.com today and drive with confidence. Bucky's.com.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. It's about 4:45. That means Jake Skorheim from the hot hit new show all the kids are talking about on our sister station, Jake and Spike Show, joins me in studio. Thank you for coming down.
Happy Friday.
Even though you're trending high today on X and Facebook and the TikToks and everything, you made time for us.
I do make time for you. Yeah, that's nice.
You have a piece coming out soon at mynorthwest.com, our sister website, about something you've noticed that's getting out of control with youth sports.
Yes. Which is the entire concept of youth sports.
The whole infrastructure.
The whole infrastructure has been flipped on its head. When I was a kid, just as a primer, and you probably, did you play youth sports when you were?
I did.
Okay. Tell me if this is not what you remember. 3/4 length sleeves, like the old fashioned baseball looking thing.
Raglan, whatever they're called, yeah.
Whatever that is. Usually, like, it might be a Boys and Girls Club, simple logo on the front. It might have, not always, but might have the printed local company logo of whoever sponsored the team. Usually they just got a plaque, and that's how you knew that they sponsored a team, that they would then hang in their business. Often you'd be wearing jeans playing baseball when I was a kid. Like
that one, no, but
okay, well,
we had actual.
You grew up in Los Angeles.
I was at Beverly Hills Little League.
You were in Beverly Hills. You actually were, weren't you?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys were maybe a little ahead of the game. But where I grew up, it was just simpler times.
It was the Sandlot.
It was. It felt like the Sandlot. It felt like Little Rascals. And now parents are nuts. And they are investing, and I don't actually think it's fully parents' fault. There's a lot of like keeping up with the Joneses that happens with parents, and they see other kids, and then their kids, they don't want to be like, oh, well, my kid's not going to have that, and they're going to feel sad. So I'll also buy them the woven braided baseball necklace. Have you seen these?
No.
So my wife goes on the shopping trip the other day, and she's with all the boys. I'm having like a quiet moment in the house. It's lovely, and she comes home. Chaos ensues, and one of my sons runs up, and he's got a necklace for baseball that he needs for baseball.
What do you need a necklace for baseball?
Exactly. And I said, "What's that, buddy?" And he goes, "Oh, it's my it's popping gum, just feeling like
it's not tobacco."
No, it's not tobacco. Big League Chew, which is fine. It's been around forever. I like that. Some traditions are good, but he's got this woven baseball necklace, and it's like tri-corded little woven, like a woven thing. I don't know. I can't describe it. Yeah. Look it up. And I was like, where'd you see that? And he goes, oh, everybody's got them. And this kid's 8. Like, who's everybody? Who's he talking to? I don't know. And I get to baseball that night. We're heading to a game that night for his team. And we show up, and he's right. Every single kid is wearing one of these silly necklaces.
Is it the new puka shells? Which was the big thing everyone wore when we were younger.
Puka shells were cool, but I think puka shells have been around for a long time.
They were big in the 90s.
They were big in the 90s, early 2000s. Yeah.
It's kind of late 90s is when everyone, and you had to have bleached hair, at least your tips.
Yeah.
Like everyone did that.
Frosted tips.
Yeah. Frosted tips. Everyone did that.
Yeah.
Is that what it is, or is this specific to baseball?
This is specific to, they don't wear it any other time. They just only wear it when they're on the field. It's like an accessory that they have to have. They all have specific glasses for playing in the outfield. Again, one of my sons is 6. These kids can't hit the ball off of a tee consistently, and yet they need like very specific sunglasses and a woven baseball necklace to go out there. And I understand it's kind of adorable, how much they think it matters, and it's nice that I like that your kids get excited about things and you are excited that they're having fun. But there is also a part of me that goes like, this is overcomplicating something that was very simple when we were kids. You have kids showing up. There's not a single kid that I've seen who doesn't have a baseball backpack. They don't wear baseball bags anymore. They're all baseball backpacks with 2 baseball bats sticking out the back.
What do you need 2 for?
What do you need 2 for? Exactly.
2.
They all have 2 baseball bats sticking out the back. They have woven necklaces. They all have it's everything. And it's not just the 3/4 length sleeve jerseys anymore. Now they have like really nice professional style jerseys that they're all like full on outfits that they're wearing. Every one of them. And it's too much.
Does your 6-year-old go through intense recovery after games? Does he take...
We had to put in an ice bath.
Yeah. I was just going to ask.
No, just kidding. We didn't put in an ice bath. No, and the thing, the kids haven't changed.
Sleeves.
Kids haven't changed, but the expectations around the game and what parents should be providing for these kids has changed. And I'm watching this going like, we're not far away. Like my kids are still fairly young, but we're not far away where I'm already seeing kids who are talking and parents talking about like, yeah, well, we're going to join this travel team or that select team or this select team. And they're going to invest all of this time and all of this energy, and a lot of resources are going to go into pushing these kids in a sport that like they may not even like in 5 years.
Well, are you critical of this?
So we're not doing that.
But are you critical because you're cheap or because you think it might take away from the game?
I think it's taking away from the game.
So it's not because you don't want to spend the money.
It's also because I don't want to spend the money.
Because I feel like that's really what this is about.
Part of it is me being cheap and just looking down the road and going like, man, that's a lot. Like I got 4 of these kids. I got an outfit with these stupid necklaces.
Although to your point, the chances of, all 4 being truly interested in baseball in the future is probably slim.
Very slim. And I'm not saying you don't invest in things when they're children because they're not going to continue those things into their teenage and adult years. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they can still enjoy the sport when it was simple. Like we enjoyed it when it was simple. It's now way more complicated. Hedge fund companies, youth sports is now a $40 billion a year industry. Like when I was a kid, I didn't even know youth sports was an industry. It was just something that you did so you get the kids out of the house 2 seasons a year when the weather started getting nice, or get them into a gym to play basketball when the weather was bad, to get them out of the house, get that energy out. Kids got a lot of energy. Now it's a business. That's the part that I have a problem with it. It is becoming a business now that people are putting so much money and resources into. Like I saw this family. I was watching this news piece on this family who has a 16-year-old son, and they say they spend $30,000 a year for his baseball-specific training and travel teams.
That's insane unless this is like the top of the line best player in the history of the world. Yeah.
He's not. He'll probably peter out in high school.
He's not listening.
I'm hoping he's not listening. He'll probably peter out in high school just based on what I'm seeing in the videos that they showed of this kid in this news report. And also
Jake is now a scout.
I'm making an assessment looking at his parents. I'm going like, well, what are his sports genes? Not good.
Yeah.
$30,000 a year they're spending on this kid. Now, it doesn't mean that he can't overcome obstacles and maybe he's going to be the greatest in the world. Maybe. But you could if he's going to be the greatest in the world, I don't think not spending $30,000 is going to stop him from becoming the greatest in the world. And these people have been tricked into, literally the mom took on a second job so that they could start contributing more to his private training.
That makes me so sad.
It does.
It'd be one thing if they could afford it and they had this. They're multimillionaires. And
they grew up in Beverly Hills.
Awesome, good for them.
Good for them.
But having to get a second job.
Yeah,
that's insane.
And so that's what I'm kind of bucking against and what I don't like. I just don't
like. So you just don't want a second job.
I don't want to have to take a second job.
You barely work full time here.
Oh, shut it! I'm here all the time. I'm here all the time.
You were here early today.
I have many jobs. You know that. But that's what I'm having a problem with. It's not because I'm cheap. I don't like seeing people taken advantage of, and I do think that system feeds into the insecurities that every parent has that they're not giving their kid the very best. And you don't always have to give them the everything. That's not going to make you a bad parent because you're not investing $30,000.
And yet you started this story telling me that your son walked in with what?
With a woven necklace.
Okay, so it does sound like you're giving
But
it.
you know what?
Or maybe you and your wife, are you not on the same page on this?
It was $9. It was a small.
I don't care. Every bit
small
counts.
price to pay. You're right. Every bit counts.
And
I told her. I said
it sends a message.
I said, honey, did you save the receipt? And she kind of just, gave me a nasty.
So what are you going to say no to? Because this is the part that's difficult. But I'm talking about the equipment side, the uniform side of things.
Yeah.
Because that is a tricky place to navigate as a parent.
Yes.
For a kid who's going to see, even with the $9 necklace, everyone else has one, and you're like, you don't need it.
We're in the local Little League teams. We're not doing the travel teams. There are specialized teams in our area where you meet a coach and he goes, hey, you know what? We're actually putting together something. And, here's what we're going to do. I just keep walking.
Sounds just creepy to me.
Yeah. Well, it's not. I think they meet.
Hey, I noticed your kid over there. You want to join a traveling team?
Your kid's
no
got a
parents
strong
allowed.
arm. We're not going to go in for that. That's too much. My wife and I grew up very different. I grew up in a much more down home, very rural.
Just call your wife uber wealthy. She comes from money.
My wife came from money, and she grew up on travel teams. And she's like, we had a lot of times where we'd go to Hawaii for soccer. And I'm like, well, that's not because they love soccer. That's because they love Hawaii. And so we have different experiences, but even she is just like that. But she recognizes now that was crazy to be, and she was an only child. We have 4. It's just not. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And
youth sports
your
is
kids
crazy.
Will say that's okay.
My kids will say, Mom and Dad, why didn't you take us on travel teams to Hawaii? And I'll be like, well,
You're ready to have that conversation.
Yeah, I've already told them. Yeah.
What do they say to that?
They're too young to care. They'll care more in a few years.
Okay. Yeah. It's like, well, I know this one family that spent $30,000 so their son could go to a nicer gym. Why can't you get me anything, you cheap son of a...
I'll be like, well, because I can tell based on your genetics, i.e. you're my son, that you're not going to be cut out.
I was only able to get to water boy and ball boy.
Yes.
This is not going to work for you.
But you have unlimited potential when it comes to being a water boy someday. Yeah. Yes,
but just not the.
No, I don't want to cut off any of their dreams. Not putting them in all these expensive things is not going to stop them from being phenomenal athletes if they have the drive and the natural God-given talent to do so. They will achieve those things. It's not.
No one at 6 has that. So just everyone relax.
Yeah, chill out.
They're 6 years old.
Chill out.
You wait until they get into their early preteens or late preteens, I guess.
Yeah, let the kids enjoy the game for a little bit.
Everyone just relax. Poor kids.
Poor kids.
God,
Poor kids.
This is a horrible dad. That's Jake Skorheim. Check out Jake and Spike Show, noon to 3 on our sister station, Car News Radio. You can also subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, man. Happy Friday.
Happy May Day. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
A multi-billion-dollar settlement is paying claims for up to 21 years. If you were exposed to weed killers at work or at home, your rights are affected. If you or your family has or had non-Hodgkin lymphoma, you could receive $6,000 to $165,000 or more. This settlement impacts you even if you're not sick because this blood cancer can take 10 to 15 years to appear. If you stay in the settlement, you give up your right to sue. Learn more at weedkillerclass.com or call 888-403-8201. Paid for by the Roundup Settlement.
At Liberty Mutual, we love helping people with things like customizing car insurance, just like how we customize a song for you. Catered country tune. Liberty Mutual, saving you bucks by protecting your truck. 'Cause 30 told me to only pay for what I need. Thank you, Limu. I'll always trust in Limu with Liberty, 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 Liberty.
Hey, North Sound and Eastside homeowners, it's Jason Rantz. If your furnace is getting older or not keeping up, now's the perfect time to check out CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. Right now, when you upgrade your cooling system with CM Heating, you can get a free furnace on select systems. Yes, free. And for a limited time, you'll also get a free clean air upgrade. Plus, CM Home Comfort Advisors are tax credit and rebate experts, so they're going to help you get every incentive available. CM Heating also offers a free in-home estimate for system replacement so you can understand all your options first. And if your heating or cooling system breaks down, CM Heating's award-winning technicians can fix it fast with zero service call fees with approved repair. Whether you need a repair or a full upgrade, do not wait. Visit cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate or repair today. But hurry, the free clean air upgrade special won't last.
License CMHEAHL 751LW. CMHEAHL CMHEAHL 754L3, CMHEAHL 750LP.
Leather's remodel sale is on now. While the world is raising prices at Leather's, we are lowering them. Over 200 pieces of quality furniture will be sold at half off. Mitch here, owner of Leather's, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. This is our largest selling event in 30 years. Gorgeous furniture for every room in the house will be sold at half off. Fabric, leather, and wood sold while they last at half off. Luxurious furniture in stock at liquidation prices. So hurry into Leather's giant remodel sale in Issaquah now.
14 years in prison for killing a young woman. A 15-year sentence for a crash that caused 3 deaths. 12 and a half years for killing a child and critically injuring her mother. All true stories, all caused by marijuana-impaired drivers. No matter what you tell yourself, if you feel different, you drive different. So, if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We are Seattle Red. Learn how Seattle Red is amplifying the conservative movement in Seattle at seattlered.com. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO-FM, HD3 Tacoma, Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
A troop withdrawal from Germany. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Pentagon has announced about 5,000 troops, or about 14% of those stationed in Germany, will leave in the next 6 to 12 months. This coming after German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said the U.S. was being humiliated by the Iranian leadership, though the Pentagon says the decision follows a thorough review of the department's force posture in Europe. While speaking in the Villages in Florida this afternoon, President Trump said negotiations with Iran are ongoing.
I spoke to him today. We're discussing. It's a little hard to figure out who their leaders are, frankly. You know, their leaders are gone. The first set is gone. The second set is gone. Khomeini was gone. And they were pretty evil people. Not pretty evil. They were evil. They killed 42,000 protesters.
The 3-week-old ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran remains intact. Demonstrations across the country marking May Day. Fox's Mike Tobin's in Chicago.
600 organizations across the nation with about $2 billion operating revenue who have been organizing some 3,000 protests in different locations across the nation. One of the places that they're getting funding is from Neville Roy Singham. He's an American millionaire, a tech guy who supports far-left causes. He denies that he has any links to political parties, but he has participated in activities with the Chinese Communist Party, and his wife is the founder of Code Pink.
The Chicago Teachers Union had requested classes be canceled today so students could join the protest, but that request was denied. Instead, buses were provided to the protest after school let out. President Trump has endorsed Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr in the Republican primary for the Senate seat being vacated by Senator Mitch McConnell, who's retiring. Barr is facing former Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron and entrepreneur Nate Morris in the May 19th primary. America is listening to Fox News.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, was a healthy 34-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had life insurance. Ethos made it so easy. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. 100% online, no medical exam. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us the space to just grieve.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. Ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Thinking about starting your GLP-1 journey? Go to orderlymeds.com/radio. Get access to proven GLP-1 medications, licensed providers, and a plan built for real life. All online. No guesswork, no wasted time. Just real people, real answers, real momentum, and support that actually lasts. Join thousands already seeing results. Start now at orderlymeds.com/radio. orderlymeds.com/radio. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Folks! The yellow light! I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app on this Friday, May 1st. May starts with an M. Maha starts with an M. Maybe May should be Maha May. which is why we've got a special guest coming on at the bottom of the hour, famed biohacker Dave Asprey, on the biohacking revolution, interest in peptides taking off. What can we do from a health perspective in Seattle now that we actually have some sunlight that's lasting more than 4 hours a day? Dave Asprey will stop by ahead of this massive biohacking conference in Austin at the end of this month, which I'll be at. I'm really excited for that. We're going to have him on at the bottom of this hour. But first, Seattle is considering a ban on data centers because it might require too much energy. Okay, that's what's trending.
What's trending in Seattle?
The left has been telling us for years that the future is electric, that we have to get rid of oil, no more gas, ban the gas stove, ban the gas car, ban anything that doesn't run on renewable energy. We've got heat pumps and electric vehicles and solar panels. That's the revolution that they want. And Seattle has been one of the loudest cheerleaders for all of this, not just in Washington, but around the country. The problem, of course, is that we can't even keep the lights on with what we already have. And no one seems to want to acknowledge that. But if you pay close attention to some of these stories, you start to pick up on that reality. 4 companies approached Seattle City Light about building data centers in the city of Seattle. You had 5 proposed facilities with a combined peak demand of 369 megawatts. And that's about equal to 1/3 of the entire average daily power consumption in Seattle. And the city's response had been a full-on meltdown where you had elected officials saying they got more than 54,000 messages raising what they called intense public alarm. The mayor was exploring a moratorium. You had 3 council members announcing an emergency 365-day ban on new data centers. You already had 2 of the developers pulling out just because of the pushback. The Eco-Socialism Working Group at Seattle DSA, of course, is celebrating all of this. But what's not being said in all of this, at least not out loud, is that Seattle City Light already needs to nearly double its capacity. It has to go from 2,000 to 3,800 megawatts. Right now, in the next 7 years, they have to start doing that. And that's with 0 data centers factored in. We have a growing population to a degree. We have electric vehicles and heat pumps and electrification. All of that is driving the load growth. And so the data centers aren't causing the grid crisis. The green agenda is causing the grid crisis. They told you to buy an EV. They told you to replace your furnace with a heat pump. They told you to electrify everything. And now the grid is buckling under the weight of the mandates that they had imposed on all of us. And they're blaming the tech companies here. Liz Schwab is a data center development manager for global infrastructure and energy over at Google. She spoke with Fox 13 about the benefits of data centers.
Americans rely on data centers really all day long, both in their personal lives and at work. They bring hundreds of high quality, high paying jobs. They bring significant construction workforce. And we have a goal to replenish 120% of the fresh water that we consume on average by 2030.
And the benefits that she points out are fair and accurate and real, right? It's not just about the jobs directly employed at the data centers. It's about the jobs that are created as a result of the data centers even coming here. They need to be built. People need to travel here for that kind of work. Like, all of that actually matters. And yet we're being told it's going to be really expensive on the local economy because of the power demands that they require. And it's not just power, it's also water when you think about it, because we have hydropower in Washington State taking on such a huge portion of our needs. And it's Eddie Lynn, the Seattle City Council member, who says we shouldn't be footing the bill for higher energy costs bought or throughout this city brought on by these data centers.
Who's really paying for these mega data centers? What we've seen in other parts of the country is that it has driven up rates for everybody else. And really, we should not be subsidizing the private profits of this growing industry. How are we as a region going to deal with the growing energy demands? And what does that do? We already see skyrocketing costs in our utility bills.
Yeah, we already see skyrocketing costs. Why is that? It's not because of data centers. Seattle City Light right now announced that the rate increases of 5.4% starting in January is just the beginning, because we're going to see annual increases through 2027 of somewhere between 7 to 10% each year. Your bill is going up because the grid is strained, not because of data centers that haven't even been built yet, but because the demand the green revolution created is outpacing the infrastructure that was supposed to support it. But it's not even just about the supply-demand issues. They've gone after the supply by pushing the actual agencies away from gas and oil. When I say supply-demand, just understand I'm not talking about demand in the traditional sense. They've gone after the supply. We're getting away from using gas and oil. Natural gas, we're getting away from that. Oh, okay. Are we ready to do that? Can we handle it now? No, but they're doing it anyway. They're doing it anyway. And now in the middle of an economy where people are hurting, where businesses are struggling, where we desperately need job creation and tax revenue, Seattle's saying no to a job creator, or in this case, 4 to 5 job creators. There was a time in this city when a company wanting to invest hundreds of millions of dollars and build infrastructure, that would have been celebrated. And yet now we send 54,000 angry emails to stop it. The co-chair of the Eco-Socialism Working Group, according to Cairo 7 TV, said, we need more power in Seattle already. We're maxed out on hydro. We're maxed out on hydro. Why is it that we are trying to take away hydropower? I mean, just look at the lower Snake River dams. That's Democrats who are doing it to save the salmon. Quote, when are we going to get clean, renewable energy from? Where? That should be our number one priority, not serving corporate interests. Okay, not serving corporate interests is sort of the tell in all of this. That's the ideology underneath all of this. Jobs are corporate interests. Investment is corporate interests. Any kind of economic growth, that's corporate interests. And in Seattle, that would deem it disqualifying, I guess. The left wants an economy that runs entirely on green energy, but they haven't built that grid. And they're not capable of building that grid. The technology, frankly, isn't there yet, not with the way that they're talking about. If we went nuclear, that would be different. But the grid they want to create can't be built fast enough. It's not going to be built because we don't have the technology. And rather than admit all of that, rather than grapple with the consequences of a revolution they've been demanding, they'd rather ban the data centers and send the jobs somewhere else. You can't mandate electrification and then say you're out of electricity. That's not a policy. And if you want to call it a policy, okay, but I'm going to call it a policy failure. And Seattle is living that policy failure right this moment. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Crime.
Another sad reality of having to do business and trying to survive in Seattle in particular, out of Greenwood, the neighborhood Greenwood, where the Taproot Theater, which has been part of the community for some 50 years. They survived arson. They've survived a natural gas explosion. They were one of the few theaters to survive COVID. This is their 50th anniversary season, which is supposed to be a celebration. And now, instead of celebrating, they're wondering whether or not they're going to survive the latest issue, which is a copper thief. Someone apparently scaled the building, ripped apart of the rooftop HVAC units, stripped out the copper wire. And what they ended up walking away with was probably less than like $100 worth of copper. But they left behind hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage. And if you're a theater that operates the most during the summer and y'all don't have air conditioning, yeah, you're not going to be the most loved theater. So the theater is now scrambling to raise some $400,000 for a full HVAC overhaul. And, you know, the sad part is they didn't even know when it happened. They just noticed it during a performance that the venue was getting, kind of warm. Like, why is it so hot? It's early in the evening. It shouldn't be like this. And so someone goes up to the roof just to check out. Maybe something was going on. Maybe one of the vents was covered or something. And what they found was a total mess. And we've got some photos up at seattlered.com if you want to look at what this thief did. They've jerry-rigged the one remaining unit to cool the performance space. They bought a couple of portable AC units, but that's just a Band-Aid because you can maybe get away with that right now where it's still not all that warm. But summer's going to be here soon, and theatrical lighting runs really, really hot. Really hot. And so the folks over at Taproot, they say there's a concern about whether their insurance is even going to cover this kind of vandalism costs. And if the money doesn't come in, they might end up being dark by this summer, so they might not even survive. A 50-year-old community institution threatened with closure by a theft that netted, some drug addict, most likely, a little under $100. This is not just some isolated crime. This is the symptom of a policy failure at an extraordinary level. One that's been happening over and over and over again. One that Olympia repeatedly refuses to fix, and certainly you're not going to expect anything on the Seattle local level. We see more copper theft than any other state in the country. Lumen reported 350 theft incidents in a single year compared to 146 the year before. They've been forced to deploy covert video surveillance, GPS tracking alarms in the areas that are deemed high risk. We've told you about Sound Transit having to shut down some of their lines from time to time because of copper theft. So whether it's a private company spending their own money to do the job that law enforcement isn't able to do or the legislature won't allow them to do, you've got taxpayer dollars going into all of this, trying to prevent it. And it's just whatever you think needs to be done is obviously not being done. Otherwise, we wouldn't get these stories all the time. I mean, when things are so bad that Sound Transit's light rail system twice in 2 weeks had to shut down because of this, one of the events happening hours before the Seahawks Super Bowl parade. Do you remember that story? They couldn't run their light rail because someone had stolen the copper. That's serious. And the service was shut down between Kent and SeaTac on the day of hundreds of thousands of people needing to get downtown. That's embarrassing. And Olympia didn't do anything about this. They could have stepped in to at least give off the appearance that they're interested in doing something. They had a bipartisan bill that would have required scrap metal dealers to photograph and upload copper purchases to a searchable database. Again, I don't know if that's going to make a huge bit of difference, but it's something, at least shows the impression that you care. But that died in the state Senate back in February. It was bipartisan. So that means Republicans and Democrats were like, yeah, we need to do this, and yet it still died. 3 days after that bill was killed, that's when a Sound Transit light rail line was disrupted. Same thing, copper thieves or copper wire thieves. This isn't complicated. The proposal that they had wasn't complicated. Again, I don't know if it would make a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's something. It's sending a message, even if it's just symbolic that you actually care about this, you're paying attention, you want to do something. It also puts an incentive on a scrapyard that knows the police can identify and seize the copper they just bought. So maybe they'll stop buying stolen copper, or they will, to the degree that they're getting taken advantage of, step up their vetting a little bit. Because if they stop buying, the theft drops. It's called deterrence. It's pretty basic. Again, you don't have to be innovative here. But we can't have that because in this state, accountability is always one session away from never actually arriving. So Dan Griffey, the state representative Republican, he introduced a bill last year to hold scrapyards accountable. And that would include civil penalties of up to $10,000 for a first violation. He didn't even make it out of committee. So he's saying he's going to bring it back again this upcoming session. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. But just understand that stories like this, it's about people destroying our communities, stealing from a theater, disrupting a light rail line, knocking out power on Thanksgiving, whatever it is. They're doing it because the policy environment allows them to. Stolen copper is easy to fence. The penalties are weak. The laws aren't actually enforced. And every time someone tries to fix it, the legislature runs out the clock. And it's really sad to think about what the Taproot Theater is going through right now. So we have a story up, and if you want to donate to help, it's over at seattlered.com, seattlered.com. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
We have an update to a story we first brought you several weeks ago, maybe even a few months ago. Bob Ferguson signed a law that raids the pension fund for retired police officers and firefighters. And I don't mean metaphorically, I mean literally. Nearly $4 billion just gone, swept out of this fund, which covers cops and firefighters who were hired before 1977. These are the people who gave their careers, their bodies, their health to this state. And Olympia just looked at their retirement security and said, oh, no, we could use that money more than they can. And what makes this so infuriating is the fund was 160% funded as of last year, and it was on track to hit over 200% by 2029. It's not a struggling account. This is a well-managed, fully solvent pension, one of the best in the entire country. And the Democrats and the legislature decided, well, that's the problem. It's doing too well. And because we have a poor track record on dealing with the, budgets here in Olympia, we're just going to take that money. Because why not? Why not? I mean, they spent themselves into a $2 billion budget hole, and now they need someone to bail them out. So they'll go and call, without even calling 911, they'll reach out to, law enforcement and firefighters. So this new law terminates the fund in June 2029, sweeps about $4 billion out of it, and then reinstates it. And it would leave it at just 110% of projected obligations. The state actuaries, not Republicans, not conservatives, but the state's own actuaries, said this law increases the potential of future state contributions if adverse experience occurs. So in other words, if the market drops, these retirees could be left exposed. Then who's responsible? You and I would be. Taxpayers. $880 million from this raid goes directly to backfill the rainy day fund that Democrats have already spent. So think about that. They drained the emergency savings. Now they're picking the pockets of retired cops and firefighters to refill it. And so now, as of yesterday morning, there is a lawsuit. It's being led by Dave Reichert, who happens to be a secretary for, or treasurer, I can't remember, for the firefighters and retired law enforcement. Obviously, he's retired law enforcement, and he is eligible for this, so he's directly impacted. So he's one of the plaintiffs. But some of the Democrats, not all of them, but some Democrats decided that this was okay, and some Democrats said, we don't like this. But obviously, the smaller some Democrats ended up losing. When you're getting sued with a class action in federal court, it's not local court. It's not a Seattle judge that's going to look at this, who maybe is a Democrat. It's much different when we're talking about federal government or federal judges. They're looking at this, and it seems pretty clear that this is a violation of the contract clauses of both, not just the state Constitution, but the federal Constitution. The legal argument is pretty straightforward, that the money belongs to the beneficiaries. You don't just get to decide that you're going to take it. That's been the prevailing legal standard forever. And yet Ferguson, again, signs a law that he knows is unconstitutional. He just signs it into law and ignores the legal implications, saying, well, you know what, if you want to stop us, you're going to have to stop us in court. We're going to force you into that and just hope against hope that we win this. There are about 5,500 retired first responders in the fund. So we're not talking about a ton of people, fewer than 6,000. And the state government, which can't stop spending, can't balance a budget, can't figure out how not to create a deficit every single session, they decided that those 5,500 people were the answer to their problems. And that's pretty despicable. Pretty despicable. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? The weird world of clickbait.
We haven't done a straight up clickbait story in a while, but this one caught my attention, and I got interested for a variety of reasons, not just because it's stupid clickbait, and dear God, did it do well on our sites, but it's part of this Costco food culture that, frankly, I don't understand. I don't get people who get all excited about the $1.50 hot dog combo at Costco. It's a stupid hot dog. Hot dogs can be delicious. And I'm not saying that this isn't a deal. It obviously is a deal. But there's a level of passion that people talk about Costco with that just is weird to me. I just don't get it. But I saw a headline pretty much everywhere on the web. Costco makes small tweak to iconic 150 hot dog combo meal. And so crazy people decided to click it because, God forbid, you change anything about something that they're so passionate about. They will die for this deal. Oh, gosh, they will go to war for it. So it's just kind of silly. So I clicked on it because, again, it's clickbait, and I was kind of curious what it was. And it turns out it's nothing bad. Like, they don't even try to hint in the first sentence of every article I read on this that it's bad. It's just a clickbait title. They're now offering, instead of just, so the way that currently works is it's a hot dog plus you get a refillable fountain drink for $1.50. So now what they're doing is offering bottled water. That's it. That's the big quiet change, that you can choose whether you're going to get a fountain drink or bottled water. Oh, okay. That's it. I don't even know if you needed to advertise this, hence it being quiet. I imagine up until this moment, if someone said, hey, instead of the fountain beverage, can I just get a water? I'm sure they just give it to you. It really doesn't make, in fact, if anything, getting the bottled water is worse of a deal than the fountain drink, because the fountain drink is refillable. And can't you just get water at pretty much every single soda fountain? Isn't there a little tab next to one of the more unpopular drinks that just gives you water? This is so dumb. They say over at Cairo 7, customers can substitute a 16.9-ounce bottle of Kirkland Signature water for the 20-ounce soft drink. So they can't even get a 20-ounce bottle of water. They say in 2024, Gary Millerchip, Costco's chief financial officer, shut down rumors that the price of the combo meal was about to rise. To clear up some recent media speculation, I also want to confirm the $1.50 hot dog price is safe. He said that during a third quarter earnings call back in 2024. Then last year, this was also one of those newsy stories, or at least pretend news stories that people pretended to care about. Costco's food court returned to Coke products as its main soft drink product. They had served Coke for about 27 years before switching to Pepsi, which is disgusting. They say at most U.S. locations, Costco requires an active membership to order from the food court. Okay, so can we just move on here? By the way, never go from Coke to Pepsi. I was so annoyed. I was on a JetBlue flight from New York to Vegas last week, and I'm certain I've flown JetBlue before. I just couldn't tell you when. It's been a very long time since I flew JetBlue, but I normally fly Delta, and they're all Coke products, and I drink Coke Zero. That is a vice of mine. Leave me alone. I've got one in my hand. See? That's a can of Coke Zero. Well, it's an empty can of Coke Zero. I like Coke Zero. Leave me alone. But I get onto the JetBlue flight, and you know, the woman comes around, the flight attendant comes around asking for my drink order, and I'm like, oh, I'd like a Coke Zero. She says, no, we don't have it. I'm like, I guess Diet Coke, which every once in a while, I guess I don't like Diet Coke, but I'll suffer through it. It's like, oh no, we only have Pepsis. Pepsi. And so I ordered the Pepsi Max or the Diet Pepsi. I'm not sure which one they gave me. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. The hotel that I stay at for CNN in New York sells Pepsi Maxes in their little, concessions corner in their lobby. And I've had to have it before because, I get off the air in New York at 11 p.m. There's not a ton open right by the hotel, at least. And I'm thirsty. I need to take my PM supplements. And so I get the the Pepsi Max, and it tastes weird. It's got this weird sweetness. It kind of tastes flat to me. It's disgusting. So stick with Coke. That was all I had to say. 1-800-465-8770. Now, speaking of Coke Zero, I will not bring that up when I talk with my friend Dave Asprey, who is the father of the biohacking movement. He's got a big conference coming up in Austin that I will be participating in as a media member. And I'm super pumped. Let's get Maha healthy on the Jason Rantz Show when we come back right here on Seattle Red 770 AM.
Nick, you know what my dad always used to say?
Oh, which thing? Let me guess. If you put anything on a hot dog besides mustard, it's un-American?
Okay, that's true. Okay, but no, about the word worry. Remember he used to say about the word worry?
Yes, that it's not a verb, but it actually is.
I know it's a verb, but Nick, his point was nothing comes from worrying. You can sit here and worry about all the news and all about the chaos in the world. You worry about your health, but nothing comes of it. You have to take action.
Right.
Like, for instance, you and I, we go into Longevity Medical Clinic. That's an action. It's about taking that action. Like, people can go to Longevity Medical Clinic, take the free health analysis, and then they can find out how they're aging and the things they can do in order to slow down the process to have a big, full, rich life so you can enjoy a hot dog with whatever you want on it.
And now worry is a verb.
See, there you go. So it all starts with you taking action. I was a patient at Longevity long before I started doing these commercials. So get your free health analysis. Go to lmclinic.com. That's lmclinic.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Save $2 when you buy 2 cans of Superior Products Coverall Tire Dressing. Plus, get 4 times O-Rewards points now at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Support comes from Amazon Business. You can't rely on guesswork to run your business. With Smart Business Buying, innovative AI tools optimize your purchasing experience, paired with delivery options built for business. Empower your team today. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Doctors King and Kopstein from K2 Vision.
If you're over 50 and you've been diagnosed with a cataract, or your vision is changing as you're developing an early cataract, you could be a perfect candidate for K2 Vision RLE.
It's inevitable. At some point, typically in your 60s or 70s, you'll have a dysfunctional lens that eventually becomes a cataract. To restore your vision, you will someday need a procedure such as refractive lens exchange.
The question is, are you done with glasses? Do you want to spend your good, active years hassling with changing prescriptions and needing readers?
K2 Vision RLE can give you great vision now, permanently, and you'll never develop that cataract. The procedure is quick and painless, and our state-of-the-art custom lens technologies give highly predictable outcomes.
K2 Vision doctors have performed over 150,000 procedures. They know when it's your right time for RLE. Schedule your free Zoom consult today at k2visionrle.com. K2 Vision RLE. No readers, glasses, contacts, or cataracts.
The Jason Rantz Show.
All right, let's break it down with Seattle radio host and author Jason Rantz.
Jason, if I didn't know you, my first question would be, do you make these stories up?
No, they accepted this proposal.
I guess it's a measure of how much they really don't like Trump, isn't it?
Long form.
We are just a few weeks away from an exciting conference. It's happening in Austin, Beyond Biohacking. I will be there with my next guest, Dave Asprey, the father of the biohacking movement. Dave, welcome back to the show.
I'm happy to be back on.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. You guys hooked me up with a media pass, so that always makes life a little bit better. But I'll be there. What can people expect over the course of this adventure? Because it's not just for people who even know what it is we're talking about. This is for newbies as well as the veterans.
If you're interested in meeting people who care about being better human beings, or you want to be one yourself, this is ground zero. You'll get to meet more than 120 of the companies making things that actively make you younger or smarter or less stressed or just more powerful. We're talking all the latest in supplements, but not just people who want to be healthy. There are people who want to be way more than healthy. Mm-hmm. You'll hear from guys like Arthur Brooks, who's a very well-known professor who writes about happiness, and Jay Shetty, and me, and 80 other speakers who are at the future of what it means to be a good human being and a powerful human being, because those go together.
I was talking to someone yesterday who, when I told him I was interested in biohacking and, sort of adopted hardcore this lifestyle about a year ago, lost over 100 pounds since then, have never been healthier. Blood work has never been better. He told me, and there's some he was critical, and I think there's some little truth to the criticism, that biohacking is just branding for diet and exercise. It's certainly true there's branding associated with this movement. There's no doubt about that. However, that is a very simplistic and false way to talk about it. What's your response to that kind of criticism?
Well, it's interesting because diet and exercise has been branded since the 70s, but it hasn't worked because we've all gotten fatter. And people who do biohacking, they measurably are younger in their blood work. I've lost 100 pounds. I've kept it off for 20 years. And the difference is biohackers, and this is in the definition of the word when I coined it, it's change the environment around you and inside of you so you have control of your state. And diet and exercise, those are variables. So is light. So is the community you keep. And so are toxin levels and all that. And instead of saying, oh, maybe if I just exercise more and eat less, I'll lose weight, which is provably nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, that's where biohacking starts. Let's personalize it. Let's measure what works, and let's only do that for you. And let's recognize your goals are different than the guy sitting next to you. And your biology is different too. So we just do what works to get there quickly with the least amount of suffering and cost as we can, but you're still going to get there. Diet and exercise, they just want you to diet and exercise forever without getting results because that's where the money is.
Yeah, and part of the whole idea of dieting and exercise, obviously it's an important piece of biohacking, but it's how you diet, quote unquote, and how you exercise. I don't want to go to a gym, every other day, or the way you did, which was like every single day for hours on end. I'm not interested in that.
That was hell. I wasn't interested either. But when I was 300 pounds, I was willing to do 90 minutes a day, 6 days a week for 18 months. Unfortunately, I never got results. Now, my current, this is the difference between the old way and the new way. My current exercise regimen is 20 minutes a week, not per day. And yeah, I'm using AI. We've got one of our upgrade labs up there in Bellevue. But this is how I look. I don't know. I'm reasonably ripped for a guy who the calendar says I'm 53. My lab tests say I'm somewhere in my mid 30s. So I spend 20 minutes, and most people listening either spend way more than that or they don't do any. I just want to get it done in the least amount of time. And the same is true with meditation. The same is true with everything, with cardio. I can show you how to do cardio in 15 minutes a week without any sweating. That gets you 6 times more results than sweating for an hour a day, 5 days a week. So spin class or 15 minutes with me, I'll give you 6 times better results.
There you go. So one of the big issues that you'll be talking about at the conference is around peptides, which kind of exploded online. All of a sudden, it seems like everyone is talking. It feels like a few months ago, creatine was the only thing anyone was talking about. And now peptides, only thing anyone's talking about. So from a basic level, what is a peptide? We'll start there.
Oh, this is awesome. I wrote about these in my big New York Times longevity book, which is almost 8 years ago. And it's been a part of making the movement happen. So peptides are a really simple idea. So all proteins are made up of something called amino acids. People have usually heard of amino acids, even if you don't really know what they are. They're just letters in the alphabet. And if you put those letters together into a word, that's a peptide. And if you put those words together into a paragraph, that's a protein. Right? So what we're doing is we're breaking these proteins down into signaling molecules that are a small number of these amino acids stuck together. And when you do that, your body's listening for the signal. And biohackers, we just want to get a signal in to make our body do what we want or make our mind do what we want. So this is a powerful way to hack into your biology and say, heal faster than you're supposed to.
When we're talking about peptides, I think mostly because the MAHA movement has sort of brought this up, and in July, there's going to be a movement to at least remove, I think it's 12, maybe it's 13 peptides from the list that the Biden administration put that on, claiming that it was unsafe for human consumption or for human testing. I think just because MAHA is attached, everyone's like, well, peptides are dangerous, it's crazy, it's kooky. But arguably the biggest drug on the market right now is a peptide, right? GLP-1s are peptides.
Wait, hold on. I just want to make it clear. The Biden administration said anything was unsafe for human testing? Is that like in the definition under irony? I'm talking about something out of Wuhan. Anyway, that's hilarious. But yeah, they did do that simultaneously, by the way. And there are a lot of people healing from long COVID using peptides. To be really clear, they can help. So the absurdity of it should not be lost on anyone listening. But Your question was a little bit more specific than that. You just caught me with a Biden comment.
So GLP-1s are peptides, correct?
Yeah. Okay. GLP-1s are peptides, but the most common peptide of all is insulin, which is also a peptide. They're just strings of proteins that do something in your body, and there's thousands of them. There's about 500 or so, maybe slightly less than that, that we commonly use in the world of biohacking. And a lot of them came out of Russia many years ago. Some have been discovered in laboratories recently. There's deep sleep-inducing peptide. One of my favorites is called melanotan, or alpha MSH. And bodybuilders have been using it since probably the early 90s. But biohackers like me use it because it makes your brain work better. And yeah, it gives you a tan in 20 minutes of sun exposure. So you inject the thing, go out in the sun for 20 minutes, and then you have an amazing golden tan that's a real tan. It's not a spray tan. And having a tan is really healthy. And if you live in Seattle, that was your entire year's worth of sun just to get the tan in that 20 minutes. I'm just kidding. I lived in DC for a long time. But you know what I'm saying? And if you're going to be in the sun, do you want natural sunscreen that's built in because it's called your tan? Or did you want to have to build it up by getting sunburned a few times? So that's one of those things. The side effect is extra libido. So almost anything you want to improve or change, there's a peptide for that. But some of them are not that well tested in humans, which doesn't mean that they aren't tested in humans. And it doesn't mean they're unsafe. And it just means that they aren't tested. One of the things that Big Pharma likes to do is they like to say anything on the market has to be tested to our standards of hundreds of millions of dollars of tests and all that. This is not necessary to know something is safe. And what they're doing is they're holding the competition back, because if you can't come up with a couple $100 million of testing, no one can compete. This is why healthcare is incredibly expensive and slow in the US, and why every other country out there has more freedom of access to drugs, except maybe the UK. They aren't very free over there either. But if you go to most of the world, you can get access to therapies and drugs for a fraction of the cost, because they don't have this weird monopolistic thing going on. And I am seeing the current administration take some big steps to break up the monopoly.
Does it feel, I was talking to someone earlier about this, on the surface, had I not been involved in biohacking, a couple years ago, I would probably assume that more quote unquote liberal-minded people would be more interested in this. But then the Maha movement has come around, and while I don't view Maha as inherently political, it's obviously got some politics to it, I suppose. Who's the person who's been signing up for this, who's been, changing their lifestyles around and really embracing biohacking?
It's something I designed from the beginning to be a movement for humans. It became a new word in the English language in 2018. 60% of biohackers are women, not men. And some people say it's only for rich white men. And it's funny that people saying that always have the same color of hair. And it's not a natural color.
Yeah.
So what's going on here is you go to the biohacking conference, there'll be 19-year-olds going, I cannot believe I lost the weight. My ADHD is gone. I'm not anxious. I like how I look. I like how I feel. And there'll be 88-year-olds there going, you know what? I've lost 50 pounds and I feel young again, and their eyes are glowing. And you'll see truck drivers who are biohackers. You'll see CEOs of tech companies, everybody alive. We just want to feel good. We want our energy back. We want our brains to work, and we don't want to look like a potato. And biohacking is the fastest path to get there for the least money. So no wonder it's attractive to people. Lots of women in perimenopause are like, my God, I thought I kind of had control of this. Now it's not working. Lots of people, they hit that mid 40s to mid 50s, and all of a sudden, they've got a spare tire they didn't have. They're saying, I'm not going to accept this. If you go back 10, 20, 30 years, it's just aging. It's inevitable. You're supposed to hurt. And today people are saying, I'm not going to hurt. I'm not going to look like I don't want to look. I'm not going to feel like I don't want to feel. And so we have people who are measurably younger than they're supposed to be. In fact, I've got about 50 of them in my very high-end medical concierge program. We do tens of thousands of dollars of lab work on this population every year. And a lot of them are successful entrepreneurs. And they can afford this kind of care where they fly around the world to get the latest therapies. And they're getting gene therapy, or we can actually inject gene signals into your body to tell your body to make more compounds that young bodies make. And then they get younger. So this is science fiction level stuff at the very high end. But at the very low end, It's like, what are the simplest things you can do that don't cost anything or cost pennies that shift your biology in the direction you want? Let's start there. I tell everyone start there. And then we prove that stuff can work at the very, very high end things. And this idea of democratizing it isn't something I'm interested in. I'm just interested in making it fairly priced according to economics, which means it's affordable to everyone. The problem right now is we have, well, one of the parties has been more beholden to the big pharmaceutical company than the others, at least lately. But we have just a corruption of economics in the US, which is why all this stuff is so expensive. It's not supposed to be. And I've never been happier with changes that I've seen at the FDA. When I got to interview the head of the FDA in November, and he said the same things that longevity doctors I work with every day have been saying. Oh, bioidentical hormone replacement, which is core to biohacking. We've been holding women back for 23 years by not allowing them to have this, by lying to them about it. And that ends now. So now even the FDA, the most conservative, historically just backwards organization in the government, they've changed sides. And now they're saying, let's have hormones for men and women so we have young people's hormones as we age. And this is a sea change in governance. I'm pretty excited about it because have you ever seen Grumpy Old Men, the movie?
Yeah.
It's a documentary on testosterone deficiency.
Which is everyone, right? Pretty much everyone is deficient, it seems like, when it comes to testosterone. And it doesn't mean you automatically go on any kind of therapy, but lifestyle tweaks can actually impact that.
They can. And when you say everyone, that includes women. So women have 4 times more testosterone than men. And it always makes me laugh where you see, a woman say, oh, you have testosterone poisoning. I'm like, oh, sorry, you've got more testosterone than estrogen too. And it turns out men need estrogen as well. If our estrogen levels are low, our brains don't work and we're at high risk of cardiovascular disease. So we just need the right ratios in ourselves. And men and women are very low in testosterone right now for a whole variety of environmental reasons. You might want to start there with your thyroid. But I tell you, if you go to the doctor and you have a normal doctor and you say, I'm a little tired, I'm a little cold all the time, I can't lose weight, and my hair is shedding, they'll probably just give you an antidepressant, or if they just don't connect the dots. A biohacker or a functional medicine physician is going to say, well, let's draw your labs. And the cool thing is you can order your lab work at home. You don't need anything other than AI to do this. But it's helpful to have a doctor. And they're going to say, oh, look, isn't that weird? The thing that controls your body's thermostat that caused all those symptoms, it was your thyroid. So for $25 a month, let's fix that. And then you get your brain back, and then you can sleep, and you're not anxious, and your hair grows back. And you wonder why your doctor didn't diagnose that 10 years ago. It's because doctors aren't biohackers unless they're functional doctors. And there's a lot of good ones, including in Seattle. Yeah,
I see a functional doctor who's actually just a few blocks away from our studios in Eastlake, and she's awesome. She used to be at the Polyclinic. So, I'm sensitive. I want to make sure I'm seeing a doctor. And it doesn't mean I don't necessarily trust people who are in this space who are not doctors. But I want a little bit of, medical background to make me feel a little bit better about what it is they're.
It's a good idea. I recommend seeing a doctor. What I'm saying is anyone listening for a few $100s can get all of their lab work done and ask an AI, like, what's likely to be wrong? Do I need to see a doctor? What is the likely thing happening here? And for 80% of people, it's really obvious. And so then when you call the doctor or you find a doctor, you walk in with your lab tests and you say, here's what's going on. You have to order these. I'm not going to come back for an next appointment. I want you to look at these, tell me what's up, and then write me the script if I need it, or tell me what to do. So it saves a ton of time and a ton of money. Your alternative is you go to the doctor, you ask for the test. They don't order the right tests. You argue with your insurance company for 3 or 4 hours about why they're not going to pay for them at the end of the day. You get pissed off, and then you got to come back to the doctor to get a script, and it never happens. So for most of us, it's just faster and easier to spend $200 or $300 get your lab test done from home, or just order them and then go to the doctor. Don't go to the doctor to ask for the lab tests.
You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. I'm talking with Dave Asprey. He's the inventor of the modern day biohacking movement. His website is daveasprey.com. His conference, Beyond Biohacking, is happening in Austin. I will be there. towards the end of this month, May 27th. I believe it's 3 days filled with some really interesting stuff. So if you've been interested in what you've been hearing so far on the show, you can purchase tickets over at daveasprey.com. I believe keyword rants will get you $700 off your passes. So that's actually some significant savings if this is something you're interested in. We're going to continue our conversation when we come back on the Jason Rantz Show.
Summer will be here before you know it. Is your yard ready? Natural Design Landscaping has over 30 years of experience designing, building, and maintaining beautiful outdoor spaces across Seattle and the East Side. Now is the time to plan your patio, water feature, or full landscape makeover so you can enjoy it all summer long. Mention Seattle Red and get 10% off your first service. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com, naturaldesignlandscape.com to schedule your consultation. Natural Design Landscaping. Let's build something wonderful together.
Jason Rantz here with our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn from None Better Tax Resolution. So, Greg, not all tax resolution companies are the same. There are some that are definitely not local. There are others that don't quite know what they're doing even.
Well, I tell you, these ads that all of us hear, Fresh Start program, they make you feel like, hey, man, I can just easy peasy get my taxes written off. No. And I've had several clients actually come to me after going through that process, and they just get no response after a while. They're passed around from person to person. That doesn't happen at my firm.
You are familiar with the cases that come in. You're working on them.
I'm familiar with every case that comes into our office. And I know what's going on and have the ability to really advise our taxpayers very well on what to do.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, then call Greg Nunn. None Better Tax Resolution, from stress to success with IRS Solutions. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN. None Better Tax Resolution.
Progressive knows it ain't easy navigating the open plains of home insurance, but there is one man who can help tame that wild herd of options. The Home Quote Explorer.
Note, Progressive's Home Quote Explorer is not a real person, but an online tool that lets you compare home insurance.
He's the type of feller who helps you decide on the right insurance, even if it ain't with him.
Again, not a person, just an online tool that helps you find great home coverage.
A real pioneer.
Okay, fine. Just do the thing. Yeah! Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Leather's remodel sale is on now. While the world is raising prices at Leather's, we are lowering them. Over 200 pieces of quality furniture will be sold at half off. Mitch here, owner of Leather's, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. This is our largest selling event in 30 years. Gorgeous furniture for every room in the house will be sold at half off. Fabric, leather, and wood sold while they last at half off. Luxurious furniture in stock at liquidation prices. So hurry into Leather's giant remodel sale in Issaquah now.
Summer's right around the corner. Can you say World Series? I don't want to jinx anybody. And I don't want to jinx that heating system or cooling system that you have, but it could possibly out at home. So the best thing to do right now is to replace the system. You want it done right and done fast. Upgrade your cooling now with Home Comfort Alliance. Their 60-second online price estimator makes it so easy. Upgrade to a Lennox cooling system and get a new heating system free. Plus available utility rebates. Visit homecomfortalliance.com today.
The Jason Rantz Show.
Bring in Jason Rantz, Seattle Red 770 AM host, and also SeattleRed.com. Jason, great to have you with us.
Jason, Seattle is just continually ground zero.
Yeah, and this is really the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for all this nonsense.
USA Today is mocking the far left.
The Quick Hit.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. I'm continuing my conversation with Dave Asprey. He's the founder of the biohacking movement. He's the inventor of Bulletproof Coffee and Bulletproof Diet, although he's not, with Bulletproof any longer. His new coffee company is Danger Coffee. And he's got a biohacking conference coming up in just like 27 days, May 27th, out in Austin, Texas. I'm really excited to be there. Here's part 2 of our conversation. So 2 quick topics before we let you go. You've been talking a lot about nicotine. You've got a special sort of seminar online or a digital series of newsletters on nicotine, which is
an interesting piece because it's not nicotine from a cigarette where people get immediately insane about. And we've heard for years that nicotine is the worst of the worst of the worst. It can be addictive and it can lead to some bad things depending on how you approach it.
You know, about 15 years ago, I came across a paper from 1986 from a Vanderbilt professor saying that nicotine stopped Alzheimer's disease. And I went down the rabbit hole and I read hundreds of papers about mitochondrial biology and nicotine. And people who smoke get cancer. It's not really good for you. And they get a bunch of other diseases. But nicotine, not smoking, just straight pharmaceutical nicotine, at low doses especially, has a lot of benefits, including it's a smart drug. It's a longevity substance in my book, and it's neuroprotective. So vaping is bad for you. Smoking is bad for you. It looks like tobacco in general is not something you want to use every day. But extracted nicotine in a pouch or a lozenge at low doses is surprisingly effective at just blowing up brain fog, jet lag, creating focus, losing weight, protecting your neurons, and you can overdo it. So I recommend people stay at 5 or maybe up to 10 milligrams a day. And if you don't go above that, you'll find the addiction is the same as caffeine. It's a 3-day washout. If you start doing more than that, it is addictive. But if something good for you is addictive, isn't that exercise? Mm-hmm. If you do it every day, you feel good. You quit doing it, you don't feel good. So I don't worry about addiction at low doses. High dose nicotine is not good for you because it closes off the microvasculature in your body.
Yeah, and I will say, as someone who's like hypersensitive to this, start very, very, very low, because I've not gone away from like the lowest of low dose lozenge that's available because I hyperreact to it. You mentioned caffeine. Final issue then is coffee in the morning. I'm annoyed, but I feel like it was a sign that you had posted a video I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, that the whole idea of not drinking within 90 minutes of waking up is not accurate from a cortisol level. So explain what the issue was, because I'd been falling for that for a while, and I love just getting up and drinking danger coffee.
There's a few people out there who are like, oh, you have to wait 90 minutes, and they make up all the science. No. You can wake up and drink coffee. And yes, I run Danger Coffee. I used to run Bulletproof Coffee. I have nothing to do with that company anymore. It's all about the danger, because who knows what you might do, just for people who've heard of it. But people say, oh, coffee raises cortisol. Guys, if your cortisol doesn't go up in the morning, it means you will have brain fog. And in fact, if it didn't go up at all, you wouldn't be able to get out of bed because your blood pressure would be too low. So your body intentionally and in a healthy way spikes cortisol in the morning, and then it declines over time so you can go to sleep at night. This is core circadian biology. So you get these uninformed people saying, oh, don't drink coffee when you wake up for 90 minutes. You needed cortisol when you woke up. So if you wake up and you're tired, drink your coffee. If you're one of those annoying people who wakes up at 5 a.m. bouncing around and all happy, you should wait 90 minutes. But for everyone else, just have coffee because you're tired. And the reason you don't want to have coffee if you're at 5 a.m. waking up just all ready to go, it could actually make you more of a morning person, and you're already too much of a morning person. So other than that, just have your coffee when you want to. And this is not one of those things that's real.
Well, I'm excited to learn more about this and so much more at the Beyond Biohacking Conference in Austin. It's next month, May 27th. I hope people will join me and Dave and all the actual experts, Dave and the experts, who will be talking about this and so much more. Tickets online. If you follow me on social media, I'll put out a code which will get you $700 off your ticket. I hope to see people there. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, Dave.
You got it. We're going to have 5,000 people there from more than 40 countries. Steve Aoki's playing the final show. It is a party. It's an event, and we're going to have a fun time.
I'm very excited. Dave Asprey, thank you so much for stopping by. This is the Jason Rantz Show.
Have you checked out the all-new SeattleRed.com?
It is a very big deal.
A new experience built for you.
We'll always be critical on this.
Learn how Seattle Red is amplifying the conservative movement in Seattle at SeattleRed.com.
You can't control what's happening in the world. You can't control gas prices or what the market does tomorrow. But you can control whether your retirement is protected when the unexpected hits. That's what Rajiv Nagayich has dedicated his career to helping families do. Not just picking investments, but building one plan that brings your healthcare, housing, legal, and financial decisions together into a single strategy. A strategy designed to keep you out of a nursing home, protect your assets, and keep your family from becoming your unpaid caregivers. If the last weeks have made you uneasy about your future, you need help. Join Rajiv at a free 90-minute seminar this May. You'll see where most plans fall short and how yours doesn't have to.
Register for a free LifePoint Law Retirement Planning Seminar in Puyallup on May 5th, Federal Way on May 6th, Bellevue on May 7th, or Linwood on May 12th. Seminars begin at 6:30 p.m. Space is limited, so sign up at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com.
You've worked hard, saved diligently, and now retirement is on the horizon. But will your nest egg go the distance? With rising cost and uncertain markets, there's no time for oversimplified plans. Hi, Jeff here with Madrona Financial and CPAs. Don't settle for a partial plan. Get the real deal by requesting your no-cost Madrona analysis today and discover what you may be missing. Call 833-673-7373 right now to request your analysis. That's 833-673-7373.
We don't talk enough about mental health, especially men. Too many people feel like they have to handle it all alone and that silence can cost them.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that can create isolation is I'm ashamed of myself. I don't feel that I'm good enough, and therefore I don't want to be connected with people because I don't offer anything.
Hero House Northwest is changing that with something called the Clubhouse model. CEO Kaylee Fiedler-Golke says it's a community where members and staff work side by side, building skills and supporting each other in real life every day.
Traditional services treat the symptoms, and community-based programs like ours rebuilds lives. So we focus on connection and purpose and belonging, things medication alone can't provide, but are critical for that long-term recovery.
Hero House Northwest Week of Action is here. Visit one of their featured clubhouses to explore employment and membership opportunities and ask questions in a welcoming environment. Visit herohousenw.org for full details.
There's a new kind of energy at Starbucks. Try the all-new energy refreshers, strawberry acai, mango dragon fruit, or the all-new mango strawberry. New energy refreshers only at Starbucks.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma, Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU.
Negotiations are ongoing. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump says the U.S. is still in communications with Iran, but he wants to make sure the country can never acquire a nuclear weapon.
For 47 years, Iran has been pushing everybody around. They're the bully of the Middle East. They've been scaring everybody, Israel and Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, all of them. They're all, it was the bully of the Middle East. I understand it.
The president speaking at a dinner in Palm Beach, Florida, and the president said the blockade on Iranian ports is working. The Pentagon says the U.S. will withdraw about 5,000 troops from Germany in the next 6 to 12 months. The president had said he threatened to draw down earlier this week after German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said the U.S. was being humiliated by Iranian leadership. But spokesman Sean Parnell says it comes after a review of the department's force posture in Europe. One of the largest settlements over clergy abuse is reached in New York.
Under the proposal, years in the making, the Catholic Archdiocese of New York agrees to pay $800 million to settle claims from 1,300 sex abuse survivors. Archbishop Ronald Hicks says he's cautiously optimistic all of them will support the deal. Also, writing in a letter to parishioners, it's been a painful process, especially for survivors and loved ones who've suffered for decades. New York is one of the states that temporarily allowed lawsuits to be filed over older child sex abuse claims.
Fox's Lisa Brady in New York. The settlement would avoid seeking bankruptcy protection as some other Catholic organizations have done. And abuse survivors would still be able to seek additional payouts from the church's insurers. After 5 days of testimony, Jessica Mann, the woman who accuses Harvey Weinstein of sexual assault, has finished testifying. This is the third trial involving Mann's accusations. Weinstein denies the allegations. America's listening to Fox News.
I'm Lauren Simonetti, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The major averages kicking off the first trading day of the new month mix, with the Nasdaq and S&P 500 finishing at fresh record highs, boosted by Apple stock, and the Nasdaq trading above the 25,000 level for the first time. The major averages finishing the week higher, with the Nasdaq and S&P 500 posting 5 straight weeks of gains. Shares of Apple climbing more than 3% after the tech giant posted a second quarter earnings and revenue beat, and its revenue outlook for the current quarter was better than expected. And oil prices fell following reports that Iran had shared its latest proposal for negotiations with the U.S. to mediators. West Texas Intermediate crude trading at around $102 a barrel. The Dow falling 153 points, the Nasdaq higher by 222, S&P 500 up 21. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
You didn't want to buy gold when prices were rising. Then you waited when gold pulled back. Now you're stuck in the middle, unsure what to do next. Speak with a precious metal specialist now at noblegoldinvestments.com. Get the answers you need to stop guessing and move forward with confidence. Their team makes it simple to gain real investor knowledge and insight. Stop trying to time the market. Start spending time in it. Don't let the market move without you. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That's no.
The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. Back. A little scratchy throat, if I'm being honest, but over, for the most part, my head cold. Thank you all for tuning in today and all week. On Seattle Red, 770 AM, online at seattlered.com. We got a ton to get to. A huge victory for sheriffs and voters in Washington State, pushing back against the Democrats' power grab to boot elected sheriffs from office. The lawyer who argued the case, Mark Lamb, will stop by in about 10 or so minutes to take us through what happened. But first, awful, embarrassing moment for Bob Ferguson. That's what's trending. Brought to you by the Sunset Auto family.
What's trending? Let's get political.
So this is rather remarkable, I think, that Bob Ferguson has been, for the most part, able to get away with some pretty shady dealings, ethical problems, ethical concerns. This is the guy, by the way, who said, hey, I'm a lawyer. I fight back against fascists and kings. I'm going to restore integrity or maintain integrity in Olympia. Yeah, not so much. He just agreed to pay a fine for an ethics violation. The details, I think, in this are the chef's kiss. Bob Ferguson, our governor, the guardian of democracy, the social media fundraiser off of other people's scandals. He illegally used a state patrol aircraft to fly his buddy around. Not a staffer or a cabinet member, but his friend. Now, in fairness, the guy used to work for the governor until he was forced out because of allegations of hostile work environment. Oh, no. From Bob Ferguson's office? That doesn't pass the smell test. Oh, it does? So last June, Ferguson invited a guy named Mike Webb, his former chief strategy officer, into a Washington State Patrol plane that was going to the Tri-Cities for some meetings and I believe for a fundraiser. And Webb just, I want to say 3 weeks earlier, it was a few weeks earlier, had just resigned because he allegedly created a hostile workplace for women in the governor's office. That Mike Webb, Ferguson's guy, his wingman, the one he wanted to bring along for the ride, even if maybe it would make some female staff members uncomfortable. So what did Ferguson do when the ethics complaint hit? He told investigators, and this is the actual argument. He says, de minimis in nature. Do you know what that means, de minimis?
No, it sounds like Latin or something.
It's Latin. It essentially is, it's not that big of a deal. Shut up. Who cares? That's what he's saying. Ethics, schmethics, I guess. I think that was the actual legal argument. I'm going off of memory and a Wikipedia entry, so don't quote me directly. I think it was his, sir, what say you? Ethics, schmethics. That's the argument. I didn't do anything wrong. Did the Latin not impress you? I know Latin. As he asked ChatGPT to give him the most plausible argument that you can make here. Now, de minimis. Here's where it gets really good. So Mike Webb is, I guess, a lobbyist. He's at a law firm pushing state officials to create this massive new wildfire liability fund. So you've got the government basically funding the governor going to the Tri-Cities in a state patrol plane, and you're allowing him to bring along a dude who used to work for the state but was pushed out over concerns of hostile workplace environment. And we're supposed to, I guess, pretend that this is not that big of a deal. Now, of course, when he was telling the state it's not that big of a deal, there was a Zoom call he had with his office that got leaked to the Seattle Times. Weirdly, they chose not to publish, as far as we can tell, the actual video. But they quote him in this meeting that I think they called kind of tense. But they said that he admitted that the decision to bring Webb was, quote unquote, pretty stupid. Okay. And yet he was still pushing back against the state. Eventually, he said, okay, let's just settle this thing so we don't have to go into a big investigation. Now, the settlement is nothing for Bob Ferguson or most people in his position. $4,000, half of it is suspended. So he's only going to have to pay $2,000 so long as he doesn't do this again. And it's better than nothing, I guess, but that's obviously not the kind of punishment that is truly going to serve as a disincentive to continue this kind of pretty, disgusting behavior. Wasteful tax dollar moves from a governor who honestly doesn't really care, but at least pretends to care. But he can't even pretend to follow basic ethical guidelines. And I don't understand how we're going to just pretend that this is not that big of a deal. Now, in fairness, local media is covering this. As far as I can tell, Seattle Times has a story. We obviously have a story up at seattlered.com. But do you think that if this was a Republican, it would be a little bit bigger of a deal in Washington? Ethics violation in which you agree to pay a fine, even if it's just $2,000, feels like it might get some more meaningful coverage.
Probably.
I'm just throwing that out there. So someone had to say it. He's got loose ethics, and I guess he's proud of it. Speaking of proud, a lot of people are proud that a Barnes & Noble is opening in downtown Seattle because nothing says we're saving a city like a bookstore. I've got a video on this posted on our social media channels right now. It's brought to you by your local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn of Nunn Better Tax Resolution, NUNN, Nunn Better Tax Resolution. Head on over to our social media channels and you can watch it there. Jason Rantz on Instagram, facebook.com/Jason Rantz Show, or head on over to our YouTube page. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Equity.
Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, was in front of, this time, a Senate committee today. This is 2 days in a row. Yesterday, he had to deal with the House. Today, he had to deal with the Senate. And there were two issues that came up across both of these hearings. And this was something that Pete Hegseth wanted to bring up. We've got one clip from yesterday. We'll actually play second because he during his opening, I thought he gave such a well-articulated speech against what it was that the military was dealing with for the last several years under the Biden administration, where we decided to push aside any kind of real merit-based systems, which the military was designed for. We pushed that aside for DEI nonsense, and his argument was so brilliant.
Underwriting the change that we've seen at our department was a laser focus on getting back to basics. And the key word to that is merit. We had a department that was obsessed with gender, ideology, and race, diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, the mantra you would hear dripping from the lips of generals and with a serious look on their face was, "Our diversity is our strength," which is the single dumbest phrase in military history.
It really is. That's your strength? What about strength being your strength? What about military might? What about, as Pete Hegseth points out, unity?
Of course, our diversity is not our strength. Our unity is our strength, our shared purpose, the flag we wear, and the Constitution we serve to defend. And
you know how much I could bench press?
How much?
Diversity.
And when you clear that debris away, whether it's Marxist ideologies or social engineering or political correctness or quotas based on gender and diversity, you get the best of the best rising up, regardless of gender, regardless of race, motivated by that environment where merit reigns. It's accountability, standards, lethality, readiness, training, all the debris wiped away.
And it was Joe Biden who said over and over and over again, there's no greater testament than the success of our military. Our greatest strength has always been our diversity. That has never been our greatest strength in the military. It's not to say you don't want a diverse military or diverse anything. Have at it. I want the best of the best. I want people who know what it is they're doing. I want people who have a shared purpose. That's what I want. That's what most of us want. And pretending that for 4 years under Biden, we had not abandoned that is just foolish. Which brings us to Marilyn Strickland, who, kudos to her. She's not a particularly bright lawmaker, but she's managed to get away from a lot of embarrassing moments. And I think she's kind of playing the Maria Cantwell deal where she just kind of does nothing and stays under the radar and just collects a paycheck and does whatever it is the party wants her to do. But she doesn't really make a big deal. And by the way, while sure, my tone is a bit snarky there, it's not an unwise strategy if you're a do-nothing member of Congress who wants to stay in a cush job forever.
I literally was thinking today, I'm like, Marilyn Strickland, I know that name. I'm like, oh, yeah, she's a congressman from Washington.
She is the forgotten Washington congresswoman. It's her and that other one I can't remember. What's her name? Emily Randall. Although Emily Randall has had some various viral moments this past year and kind of last year because she's an extremist. But Marilyn Strickland, who, and I kind of joke. I like her. I don't think she's dumb. I just don't think she's the brightest of our members of Congress because she says stupid things like this.
Always had a merit-based system. That's not the argument.
No, we have not. Not under the Biden administration. We did not. It became social engineering, not merit, and we're fixing it
didn't.
Quick.
No, it did not.
I love because no, it didn't. No, it did not. Yes, it did. The president used to say that. We had members of the military brass coming out and say, yes, I would love everyone to read White Fragility. What was that one book that, what's his name was pushing? Oh, my God, it's like on the tip of my tongue. There's so many DEI grifting books out there.
Millie was talking about it. And
look it up real quickly because, when we name a book on the show, it immediately becomes an Amazon bestseller, like my book, What's Killing America, which I get.
Oh, White Rage?
Yeah. Was it White Rage? Maybe that is what it was.
Or actually, I think he was talking about the concept of white rage. I don't know if that was the book.
It was basically what we're talking about. It was like a Robin DiAngelo book or one of those grifters. Like, yes, I want to know this, and we want everyone to know. It's like that's what they were doing, and they were so proud of the fact that they had a bunch of trans people who were now serving, and they made a big deal of the symbolism of that. How could you, with a straight face, Marilyn Strickland, tell us that we had a merit-based system under the Biden administration? When you have a guy who's coming out there, not just about the military, but, even setting up his cabinet, I vowed to have a cabinet that looks like the American people. By the very definition of merit-based, this would not qualify. It doesn't qualify. So it's just so silly. Then you got Jack Reed of Rhode Island. He goes after today. He's the senator. He's the senator who didn't belong to a whites-only club from Rhode Island. That's the other one. That we know of, yeah. Yeah, that we know of. Maybe he did. That's Sheldon Whitehouse, or White Club, I guess is his new nickname on Twitter. But Sam Reed insinuated that Hegseth is a racist and a misogynist.
Intense interest in Christianity, in nationalism, and in not recognizing the talents of women and non-white gentlemen, and that's the wrong direction.
I don't know what you're insinuating.
Well, in fairness, he knew exactly what he was insinuating.
Senator, but I am not ashamed of my faith in Jesus Christ.
Well, you shouldn't be ashamed.
And if you want to shame me for it, go ahead.
But it kind of does sound like Sam Reed wanted to shame him for that. I mean, he brings up right at the beginning.
Intense interest in Christianity.
Oh, no. Intense interest in God and faith. How dare he? How dare he? Now, in fairness, he didn't just directly, because he's a coward, he didn't want to directly call out Hegseth. Tammy Duckworth, the Democrat senator from Illinois, goes on MS Now, says that.
Well, Pete Hegseth is an incompetent fool.
He's an incompetent fool, yeah, man.
He is a misogynist, and he's been trying to get rid of women's role in our military.
I like this idea that acknowledging differences between men and women is getting rid of women in the military, rather than putting women and men in positions where they're most likely to succeed and most likely not to get someone else killed or themselves killed. But remember, Marilyn Strickland tells us that there were no changes to our merit-based system. Did we lower the physical fitness standards so that more women could advance?
Yeah.
Okay, is that merit-based?
No.
Hold on. Hold on. Smarty McSmart Pants over there. If you get to new standards, it's now merit-based based on those limited standards. Do you think that's what Marilyn Strickland was doing there? She's like, well, technically, I think I've got you on a argument here. I can win this battle. We technically changed the system. So technically, it's still merit-based. Well, no, not really.
Obviously must have lost out a promotion to a female service member at some point and is,
Ugh. Yeah, he seems like he's got low self-esteem. Pete Hexa.
On a personal vendetta, but bottom line, in the testimony, he said, we are doing this to the highest male standard, as if there were only two standards in the military. And in fact, the physical fitness standards are actually graduated based on age as well. So
but it's still gender-based. Does she not realize that? Do you know why it's based on the male standard? Any ideas? I'll give you a hint, okay? Men are stronger. Oh, no, that was the answer.
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say that.
No, you're on this show, you're allowed to say that. Now, we talk about men in a general sense. Obviously, Jackson has no upper body strength. It's true. Even though he goes to the gym, he says every single day.
Not every day.
No, you go every day, you told us.
40-year-old serviceman.
She just gendered. Oh, my God. And she caught herself, but then she did it again. It's almost like she couldn't get out of it.
Does not have to run the 2 miles as fast as an 18-year-old serviceman. So it is also differentiated by age as well as by gender. And frankly, as someone who served in a combat arms branch, and I volunteered to serve in the first combat arms branch that actually accepted women into combat roles, which is as a helicopter pilot, I know what the experience is. I know that our women who have met those standards have met the standards. They're doing...
Yeah, who meet the standards of men, then they can move on. Yes, that is true. And Pete Hegseth hasn't changed that. He has no interest in changing that. He just wants to make sure that when we say someone's going to move forward, we want to be able to ensure everyone on the battlefield is capable of pulling their own weight. And unfortunately, overall, women are weaker than men. That doesn't mean that some women can't move forward, and it doesn't mean that all men do. That's not how this works. But there's still some basic realities, even if Democrats like Tammy Duckworth want to pretend otherwise. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Legal.
Washington Democrats thought they could use an unelected commission to kick elected sheriffs off the ballot or out of office just for refusing to sign a loyalty oath. But good news, yesterday a judge said, no, not so fast. Senate Bill 5974, it was the law that would have allowed Olympia to override the voters and strip sheriffs of their jobs. It was partially blocked one day before it took effect. The attorney who fought to stop it is here. Friend of the show, Mark Lamb from Carney Badley Spellman. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, Jason, thanks so much for having me.
So, like I said, it's partially blocked. There's some irony in what part of this isn't blocked, I suppose. But walk me through what the judge actually said in this decision.
Yeah, the judge spoke for almost 40 minutes from the bench in giving her decision, and it was an extremely thoughtful and well-reasoned analysis of why this law is completely unconstitutional. And in this country, voters get to decide who elects them, and the remedy if you elect somebody bad is to either recall them if they commit malfeasance or misfeasance or violate their oath of office, or vote them out at the next election. And we have never, ever in our country had an unelected body be able to directly remove elected officials from office. And that's really what she focused on. And she said, sheriffs, they have an important job. And she said, the legislature has an important job too. Like everybody in government has an important job. Mm-hmm. Judges do too. And we just don't let this happen. We just don't, in America, we don't remove people. We don't set up a star chamber to look at people's social media posts and then remove them from office if we find them offensive.
Now, the part that will go into effect or can go into effect would apply in one instance for cases of sheriffs who are appointed. And ironically, that would be King County, which wanted to strip the power and did, in fact, strip power from the voters. They just did it via an initiative.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think that's critical. I mean, we're kind of it took a while to get the order finalized because that was something that we wanted to consider fully. But at the end of the day, I think the voters in King County made a poor choice, but they made a choice, and that's ultimately the voters have the power in our country and in our state in particular resides with our voters, and that's an important principle that the judge upheld yesterday in court, which was very very significant, well beyond our sheriff clients who we're extremely proud of, and we're very grateful for the judge's decision. But it's just an important concept in democracy because, as I said to the judge yesterday, they're going to start with the sheriffs. They're not going to stop there. They're going to go to prosecutors. They're going to go to judges. They're going to go to other elected officials to say, hey, if you do something that we deem as offensive, or if you say or speak something, or if you affiliate with someone. That was one of the weirdest and most chilling parts of this law. Is it was like a McCarthy law. It said if you affiliate with an extremist, you can be removed from office.
Yeah, an extremist as defined by the Democrats in charge.
Yeah, which is incredible. I mean, I articulated this in court yesterday, but one of the definitions of an extremist organization, and it doesn't even have to be an organization. It can be a person or two people. It would be somebody who engaged in the public marginalization of perceived gender. And I consider myself to be a reasonably intelligent person. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what public marginalization means, and I don't know what perceived gender means. And the judge picked up on that and said, look, this law, a reasonably intelligent person and a reasonably intelligent sheriff would have no idea if they had violated this law, and so it's unconstitutionally vague.
So the state's argument, or at least one of them, was that sheriffs already certify under similar standards, so none of this is really a big deal. Why is that wrong?
It's just not true. I mean, the law right now is to run for sheriff, you have to attend a basic law enforcement training class. It doesn't even say you have to pass the class. It just says you have to take it. That's not the same thing as certification. And there have been sheriffs who are not certified by the CJTC. And as we look at the News Tribune, half the sheriffs right now in our state are undergoing have complaints with the CJTC and made on social media. So free speech. So it's completely untrue what the state said, and they were as they've done throughout this litigation. They were playing word games by saying, they already have to be certified. All of my clients are certified, but that's not the point. They can't be removed from office if they lose that certification.
The state also says that they're appealing. So what's the realistic timeline, and do elected sheriffs have any real protection before the next election cycle?
We do. I mean, here's the great news is at Kearney Badley Spellman, we have one of the best appellate teams in the state of Washington. We're prepared for whatever the state is going to do next. And, I anticipated if we had lost yesterday, we would have appealed. I anticipate they will likely appeal. There's 60 years of unbroken case law that says the state can't do this. You can't do a loyalty oath, and you can't condition elected office on what people say, speak, write, or who they affiliate with. So I'm quite confident that whether it's the state Supreme Court or the United States Supreme Court, they're going to come to the same conclusion that Judge Schaller did. But, it may take a minute for us to get there.
Finally, beyond Washington state, should other states be paying attention to what happens here?
Absolutely. I mean, I have to say the state could not produce a single example in any other state in our country that has done what the legislature did in the last session. So I think it is, unfortunately, bad ideas sort of germinate. And I think it's really, really important that people all across the country stand vigilant that in this country, we elect our officials, and we don't delegate to some bureaucratic star chamber to decide who we're allowed to vote for, or importantly, who can even run for office in the first place.
Precisely. Mark Lamb is an attorney. He's a principal at Kearney Badley Spellman. Good work. Congratulations, and thanks for stopping by.
Hey, thanks so much, Jason. Appreciate it.
Of course. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show. If you want to read more about this, head on over to seattlered.com. Back with more after this.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Wendy's new Biggie Deals lets you choose whatever you're in the mood for. It's like a music mixing board of deals, and you're the producer. Go with some chill folk music with a JBC in the $4 Biggie Bite snack. Try the drum and bass of deals with a double stack in the $6 Biggie Bag. Or go full-on sandwich symphony with an $8 Biggie Bundle, the grand finale of snacking. And the best part? They all come with napkins. $4, $6, and $8 Biggie Deals how you want them at Wendy's.
Price and participation may vary. Single items at regular price. Prices may be higher in Alaska, California, and Hawaii.
Support comes from Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks so you can make smarter decisions faster. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-290-7100. That's 800-290-7100.
Hey, North Sound and Eastside homeowners, it's Jason Rantz. If your furnace is getting older or not keeping up, check out CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. When you upgrade your cooling system with CM Heating, you can get a free furnace on select systems. Yep, free. CM Heating also offers a free in-home estimate for system replacement so you can understand all your options first. Visit cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate.
License CMHEAHL 751LW, CMHEAHL 754L3, CMHEAHL 750LP.
Are you trying to get weight loss support through telehealth, but it feels overwhelming and rushed? Check out Orderly Meds now. OrderlyMeds.com was built to be different. Here you connect with real doctors who take the time to understand your goals, review your eligibility, and guide you through a plan that's right for you. Orderly Meds provides access to proven GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide, including both name brand options and personalized compounded versions when appropriate. So you have choices backed by clinical oversight, not guesswork. It's a simpler, more supportive telehealth experience designed around people who want clarity, care, and confidence in their weight loss journey. And your medication is delivered directly to your home in discreet packaging, so your experience stays private from start to finish. Do your research, ask the right questions, then visit orderlymeds.com/radio for an exclusive offer. Again, that's orderlymeds.com/radio. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I gotta say, I did not see this coming. Jackson. Hey, Jackson.
Yeah?
I did not see this coming.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
What?
You're making a pun.
I just said I did not see this coming.
Yeah, but you said it in a type of way.
Because I'm talking about Janet Mills dropping out of the main
play on words, yeah.
What's the play on words? Not?
See.
Oh. Janet Mills earlier this morning announced that she was suspending her Senate campaign. She's the governor of Maine, Democrat. She was running to try to unseat the incumbent, Susan Collins, who is running for re-election. The only one older than Janet Mills is, I think, Susan Collins. Is she Susan Collins older? They're both in their hundreds. I don't know which one's older. But she said, when I decided to run for the United States Senate last year, it was because I believe Maine people were getting a bad deal from Washington and because the president of the United States was threatening our democracy and pushing our nation to the brink of disaster. I continue to believe that today. While I have the drive and passion, commitment and experience, and above all else, the fight to continue on, I very simply do not have the one thing that political campaigns unfortunately require today: financial resources. Which is, by the way, kind of a hint that other people don't agree that she has any of what she just said she has.
Janet Mills is 5 years older, by the way, than Susan Collins.
How old is she?
78.
Oh, God. She's not aging well. Neither is Susan Collins. They're both really old. But in fairness, they work in politics.
Yeah.
And that does age people. So she basically said, I don't have any money because people aren't supporting my campaign the way that I hoped, which makes it, I'm assuming an inevitability that the dude with the Nazi tattoo, Graham Plattner, far left Graham Plattner, is going to advance and take on Susan Collins. There's some interesting, sort of politics in all of this, because if you thought having a Nazi tattoo was a disqualifier, not in the Democratic Party of 2026. Oh, no. If anything, they look at this as a benefit.
That's my kind of man.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Warren says, that's my kind of man. And Democrats have effectively said, it's not that big of a deal. Who among us hasn't had a Nazi tattoo, had to be removed from our chest? I mean, if we want to talk about tattoos, what about that Nazi tattoo that Pete Hegseth has? You mean that religious symbol that's not tied to Nazism in any way, shape, or form? Well, it doesn't look great. Which is better, the actual Nazi tattoo or the Christian tattoo you don't like? Again, this is the party that tells us that they're fighting Nazis while simultaneously demonizing Jews every step of the way. So Graham Plattner, we'll see what ends up happening with Chuck Schumer, who backed Janet Mills but didn't give her any money. So what does he do now? Does he decide to now back the guy with the Nazi tattoo, Jewish Chuck Schumer? Does he hate himself? And is he that desperate so much to stay in power that he'll go ahead and back and pay for Graham Plattner's candidacy?
I feel like he renounced his Judaism a long time ago. So.
Yeah, that's fair. But, I mean, it's still he could have backed Graham Plattner from the beginning. He chose to go with Janet Mills. Now, things are different. I don't know Susan Collins' popularity in Maine. It always feels like she's been popular there because she's kind of down the middle, which is why we don't particularly like her, but infinitely better than having a Nazi tattoo guy. Call me crazy. I will always take the Republican who's a Republican 8 times out of 10 than the progressive with the Nazi tattoo. Or as Elizabeth Warren calls him, my kind of man. Right, Elizabeth? Say it. Say it.
That's my kind of man.
Thanks. No shame whatsoever. Ugh. Did you see who's running in Alaska for Senate?
No.
Who just jumped in? Come on.
Sarah Palin.
No. Dear God. Who's going to take on Lisa Murkowski? I'll give you a hint. Dan Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan.
Yeah, the popular governor.
Uh-huh.
Or the popular incumbent is now, or not Dan Sullivan. Who's the governor?
Oh, I was going to say, isn't Dan Sullivan already a senator?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I'm confused.
It's, what's his name? Dunleavy. Sorry. I've interviewed the guy.
Oh, Mike Dunleavy.
Yeah, he's a really good dude. He's super tall. Have you ever met him?
No.
Do you know how tall he is?
I don't know.
I just said he's super tall. Find out how tall he is. And also his age. Because I think he's like a normal person. Mike Dunleavy is...
He's 64.
He's way taller than 6'4".
No, he's 64
inches tall. Okay, that makes more sense. How tall? This guy, and I don't know, maybe because I'm not great with height. I took a picture next to him, and I was like, he's 6'9". Or at least the NBA player with the same name is 6'9".
Well, that was the first thing that popped in my head because I remember him. But
I'm just gonna go with that because I've taken a photo next to him and my neck hurt because I was looking up at him. He's a good dude. He can actually win. The problem with going after people like Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins, to me at least, is that you risk losing a Republican seat, even if they only vote with Republican 8 out of 10 times. Lisa Murkowski probably closer to 6 out of 10 times. But I'd rather have that than 0. And it's always kind of risky to challenge, except when you have someone like Dunleavy in Alaska who's very popular. And I don't think anyone really seriously tried to challenge Susan Collins in Maine, mostly because, again, I think she's popular there. And I will say, Collins has come through for Republicans at a much better rate than Murkowski. I think that's undeniable. She's just come through way more often. Murkowski's on another level in how she just seems to hate. Why not just become an independent at that point?
Yeah, and I always give Colin some grace because Maine is a blue state.
Yeah, like I get it.
Whereas
But
Murkowski,
Alaska's not.
Yeah, it's like, come on, do better, guys.
We can't do any better than that, so we're going to go with the governor. Hopefully, again, he will end up moving us in the right direction. The longest ever shutdown in U.S. history is now officially over. The House passed the Senate's DHS funding bill by voice vote. Trump signed it into law just a few hours ago. Now, we've been partially dealing with an unfunded DHS since mid-February, so 76 days, 77 days. And the Senate passed a bipartisan bill unanimously a few weeks ago. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, had declined to put it on the floor for a vote because we just didn't have the numbers. He didn't like the language that defunded, in his view, law enforcement. And the bill didn't include any money for ICE or CBP, which Republicans feared, rightly so, I think, set them up for primary challenges at home facing attacks that they defunded ICE from people who are, voters who very clearly want to support ICE and support Border Patrol. But what broke the logjam, as it were, was this White House memo that said it wouldn't be able to pay DHS employees starting in May if the House didn't actually act. And they said, look, we've been using existing funding to cover 6 weeks of back pay. We're almost done with that money. Like, it's going away soon. And that becomes a really significant issue for us, not just because people will blame us, even though we have nothing to do with this. We're not the ones who are causing the problems. But it's going to cause issues again at airports, like the TSA stuff. That was awful. That was awful. And they said, we're going to have to just sort of eat this one, I guess. But at the end of the day, Johnson still has more that he gained, and Republicans have more that they gained, I guess, than Democrats. What did Democrats get out of this? They're going to continue to negotiate some sort of reforms, but they didn't actually get anything. They didn't get a single reform in all of this. So they put the government through this. They put the American people through this nonsense for several months for nothing, for favorable TV coverage on MS Now and coverage in the New York Times. Here's Speaker Mike Johnson.
Most importantly of all the things we got done this week, we got the budget resolution passed. This is very, very important because that will ensure that border security and immigration enforcement will continue today and well into the future, despite Democrat attempts to reopen our borders and protect criminal illegal aliens from removal. The net result of passing our reconciliation bill is that ICE and CBP are funded for 3 years. Democrats got absolutely nothing for their political charade and shenanigans out of that.
Now, again, they got a spotlight, and for some reason, whenever there's a government shutdown, Republicans get blamed. Sometimes they should get blamed because they're responsible. Other times they're not responsible, yet they get blamed anyway. And that's because of the disparate treatment that the media provides in these circumstances. When it's the Republicans' fault, meaning they're the ones who are saying we're not going to fund the government, leans in nonstop, they're to blame, they're to blame, they're to blame. When the Democrats do it, they say, well, it's still kind of the fault of the Republicans. Now, they don't completely blame the Republicans. In fairness, there's been some honest coverage saying Democrats are doing this, and there have been some small instances, one-offs, in which a lawmaker on the left is being asked tough questions. But they don't give the same level of treatment. If the media overwhelmingly went against the Democrats the way they go against the Republicans under the exact same circumstances, the news would be different. The polling would be different. But Republicans are getting the blame. And, the longer you extend that kind of coverage, the more difficult it is to deal with and sort of politically rebound from. But the end of the day in all of this is that Republicans support ICE and border enforcement, and Democrats just simply don't.
We repeatedly offered in good faith, I want to remind everybody, to negotiate on funding these agencies. But ultimately, the sad and actually shocking truth is there's not a Democrat in the House or the Senate that believes border security and immigration enforcement should exist at all. By word and deed, Democrats have made clear their desire to defund both of those critical functions of our government.
Now, before we take a break, I don't know if you saw this. The president had another get-together in the Oval, and he was taking questions from reporters. And obviously, even though it feels like it happened a long time ago, we're still fresh off of an assassination attempt on Saturday in D.C. at the White House Correspondents Association dinner. And we're having a serious conversation about whether or not the president should be wearing a bulletproof vest now. And he was asked that. His answer is why so many of us love this guy.
Is there talks about you potentially wearing a bulletproof vest moving forward, given you have now been shot at?
I don't know if I can handle looking 20 pounds heavier.
That's good. And again, most people who are subjected to just the threat of violence would not have a sense of humor like he does, having actually been subjected to and actually shot. Not just shot at, but actually shot. Now 3 times.
That was a very Reagan-esque joke.
Yes, but he knows what it is he's doing. Rand Paul, of all people, have pushed forward a bill to fund the ballroom so it could be taken completely out of the court. Even again, it's going to be built. I love how we're pretending it's not going to be built. You can stall it, you can slow it down, but it's 100% going to be built. And what's the key piece of this particular ballroom that should not upset anyone? We're not paying for it. There's zero tax dollars going into this project, which is why Rand Paul is supportive of it. Now, Rand Paul probably wouldn't be the one who would introduce a bill like this if it was government funding for a ballroom. He's pretty consistent on this. But it'll cost about $400 million. It's completely covered by private dollars. And so he introduced his bill to do this. And you know who's standing in the way? I mean, all the Democrats, but in particular, Elizabeth Warren, which is very on brand for a socialist. She's all like, I don't want you spending your own money the way you see fit. I want to spend your money the way I see fit. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So we're still at a standstill here. How can we not just get this passed? We don't have enough vote. Get rid of the filibuster for the ballroom. I feel like I'm changing my mind completely on the filibuster. I think it's an important piece, but, Democrats are already going to get rid of it. Why don't we be the ones who get rid of it? I don't know if this is legal. I want to get rid of it, pass a bunch of stuff, and then reinstitute it and make it impossible to get rid of again. Can we not do that? 1-800-465-8770 for your text. Don't forget, every Thursday we post a Jason Rantz Show video update brought to you by a local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn of None Better Tax Resolution. It's on our social media channels right now, taking you through the really bad data out of the city of Seattle. 33.3% office vacancy rate, highest in the country. When we come back, an exclusive story about a judge who arguably should not be a judge in Seattle. We'll explain what happened when we come back.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell, definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-290-7100. That's 800-290-7100.
Leather's remodel sale is on now. While the world is raising prices at Leather's, we are lowering them. Over 200 pieces of quality furniture will be sold at half off. Mitch here, owner of Leather's, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. This is our largest selling event in 30 years. Gorgeous furniture for every room in the house will be sold at half off. Fabric, leather, and wood sold while they last at half off. Luxurious furniture in stock at liquidation prices. So hurry into Leather's giant remodel sale in Issaquah now.
You can't control what's happening in the world. You can't control gas prices or what the market does tomorrow. But you can control whether your retirement is protected when the unexpected hits. That's what Rajiv Nagayach has dedicated his career to helping families do. Not just picking investments, but building one plan that brings your healthcare, housing, legal, and financial decisions together into a single strategy. A strategy designed to keep you out of a nursing home, protect your assets, and keep your family from becoming your unpaid caregivers. If the last weeks have made you uneasy about your future, you need help. Join Rajiv at a free 90-minute seminar this May. You'll see where most plans fall short and how yours doesn't have to.
Register for a free LifePoint Law Retirement Planning Seminar in Puyallup on May 5th, Federal Way on May 6th, Bellevue on May 7th, or Linwood on May 12th. Seminars begin at 6:30 p.m. Space is limited, so sign up at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com.
Summer's right around the corner. Can you say World Series? I don't want to jinx anybody, and I don't want to jinx the heating system or cooling system that you have, but it could possibly out at home. So the best thing to do right now is to replace the system. You want it done right and done fast. Upgrade your cooling now with Home Comfort Alliance. Their 60-second online price estimator makes it so easy. Upgrade to a Lennox cooling system and get a new heating system free. Plus available utility rebates. Visit homecomfortalliance.com today.
Are you trying to get weight loss support through telehealth, but it feels overwhelming and rushed? Check out Orderly Meds now. OrderlyMeds.com was built to be different. Here you connect with real doctors who take the time to understand your goals, review your eligibility, and guide you through a plan that's right for you. Orderly Meds provides access to proven GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide, including both name brand options and personalized compounded versions when appropriate. So you have choices backed by clinical oversight, not guesswork. It's a simpler, more supportive telehealth experience designed around people who want clarity, care, and confidence in their weight loss journey. And your medication is delivered directly to your home in discreet packaging, so your experience stays private from start to finish. Do your research, ask the right questions, then visit orderlymeds.com/radio for an exclusive offer. Again, that's orderlymeds.com/radio. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have a story up at seattlered.com that I hope you will check out. A sitting King County District Court judge has been formally reprimanded for sexually harassing a court clerk after an encounter in his blacked out chambers that reportedly left her throwing up at work more than 10 times and hiding in bathrooms to avoid him. Kind of sounds like what happens with you, Jackson. Every time I walk into the office, he starts to cry and run away. But not due to sexual harassment.
I say for different reasons, though.
So Judge, and there's no way I'm going to say his name correctly, Famamoy Masaniai. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. He's a sexual harasser, according to the courts. Alleged, I guess. He was appointed to the bench in January of 2021. He was elected in November of 2022. And he signed a formal stipulation with the Washington State Commission on Judicial Conduct, admitting to violating multiple provisions of the Code of Judicial Conduct, and agreed to complete mandatory sexual harassment training at his own expense. But again, he's still on the bench, and he's going to be on the bench until at least January of 2027. That's when his current term runs out. Now, according to the stipulated findings, the trouble began right after the clerk started at the King County District Court in January of 2023. After a litigant in one of the cases that the judge was on ended up dying by suicide, the clerk asked to speak with the judge about whether the court could have done anything differently to prevent something like this from happening. So it sounds like she was asking not just in good faith, but showing a lot of compassion because she cares deeply about what it is she does for a living. And their schedules just didn't align. When she could meet, he couldn't. When he could meet, she couldn't. And so she ends up getting, he gives her, I should say, his personal cell number. Hey, let's connect and figure things out. From there, the calls turn personal. According to the stipulated findings, within weeks, the two were communicating multiple times a day by text and Teams and by phone. And the clerk told investigators she thought it was, quote, strange and possibly inappropriate, but she said she couldn't say so because this judge was effectively her boss. And so on May 5th of 2023, he apparently offered to massage her neck in his chambers after she mentioned it was sore. She was all like, no, it's good. No. He sent a follow-up text offering again. She was like, no, I'm still good. I'll deal with the soreness, thanks. 3 days later, the clerk messaged the judge with a question about a case. And he said, hey, come to my office, come to my chambers, we'll discuss. So she gets there, and this is never a good sign. The lights were off and the blinds were down when she got there. It's immediately creepy, especially when you know someone's coming. But according to the stipulation, they say he was hanging a decoration on the back wall when she walked in, weirdly in the dark. And he told her to, quote, sit down and get comfortable. Also, really bad sign. I don't want anyone comfortable in my office because then you're going to stay there longer. I want you uncomfortable and out the door.
I always have one foot out the door when I'm in your office.
I don't even allow you to sit down. It's not going to happen in my office. He stood in front of her, leaning against his desk, asked about her tattoos, and told her she, quote, had a really special spirit. Oh, God. He said he was in a, quote, really weird situation at home. Why? He was having some marital problems. And so it was at that point the clerk was all like, I gotta go. She made some weird excuse up to leave. And when she stood to leave, the judge, according to the investigation, said, oh, I get it, but before you go, can I have a hug? Oh, God. She said what followed was a, quote, full body embrace. She said his hand was so low on her back that it was basically touching her backside. She looked up and believed he was about to kiss her, according to this investigation. At that point, she broke away, left the chambers, and almost immediately vomited. That's going to sting the judge. So really, is it that bad?
Am I that grotesque?
We've got a photo up at seattlered.com. The answer is yes. The answer is very clearly yes. The next day, he texted her to ask if she was okay. This is what she texted back in full, according to the investigation. Quote, to be honest, no. I like talking to you. I'm happy to listen, but I felt like I couldn't say no when you asked for a hug in your office yesterday. And I felt really uncomfortable when I left. I feel bad even saying this to you because I don't think you meant any harm and you already apologized. Now, over the following week, she said she had panic attacks. She vomited at work more than 10 times. That's a lingering sort of nausea from this and the anxiety over it. She hid in bathrooms on multiple occasions to avoid running into him. She once texted a coworker at least one time to confirm that the judge had left an area before she was able to come out of the bathroom. She just wanted to avoid the awkwardness. And the last text she sent was on May 15th saying, I've been trying to be polite, but you have been making me uncomfortable, and I would appreciate it if you would stop contacting me unless necessary. Thank you. I would not have added the thank you, but she seems like a nice person.
I think it's kind of like in the old days, he used to say, good day, sir.
Or is it, thank you for your attention to this matter? She could be MAGA. In his written answers to the commission, he characterized the physical contact as a bro hug. So have you ever given a bro hug?
Sure.
Okay. Does it include cupping the buttocks of your bro?
Not in my experience, no.
During the bro hug or towards the end, do you lean in for a kiss?
No.
Okay. Oh, you hesitated there. And you don't even do significant body contact when you do a bro hug. A bro hug is kind of like, it's like one hand.
You're in and out.
Yeah. And look, is it possible that she misinterpreted this? Sure. Okay. I guess it's possible. But given the totality of the claims that are made and that he is stipulating to the facts, I kind of side with her. Now, he says, in fairness to his point, he said since 2020, he lost 8 family members, including his mother, and he saw the clerk as a person to confide in. That's his words. But he now says he is, quote, remorseful for discussing deeply personal information with her. This is another reason why. And do you ever hear me talking about my personal life? Very rarely.
No.
Almost never. You have no idea about anything I do outside of this building, except when I'm watching a Mariners game and what's his name comes up to bat.
Dominic Canzone.
That's the only time you know what I'm doing. And
I don't even know if you have a dog.
It's so weird you brought that up. I adopted, I'm going to be open and vulnerable. I adopted a dog 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay, because you're always talking about dogs, but I didn't know if you
No, I have a dog. His name is D'Artagnan. But I keep all my private stuff private for the most part, outside of like my health stuff, like biohacking. I just don't talk about it. It's because I feel like it's inappropriate and just asking for problems in the office. And I hate it when you come in, you just nonstop, oh, look, I just got engaged. Like, just stop it, Jackson. I'm done. So he's still on the the seat. He's still a judge, and let's call it out. SeattleRed.com.
Get a $15 O'Reilly gift card after rebate when you buy 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Support comes from Amazon Business. Free your team from time-consuming procurement tasks. Discover smart business buying where unmatched selection meets AI-driven tools to simplify complex processes so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Hey, North Sound and Eastside homeowners, it's Jason Rantz. If your furnace is getting older or not keeping up, check out CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. When you upgrade your cooling system with CM Heating, you can get a free furnace on select systems. Yep, free. CM Heating also offers a free in-home estimate for system replacement so you can understand all your options first. Visit cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate.
License CMHEAHL 751LW, CMHEAHL 754L3, CMHEAHL 750LP.
Every 65 seconds, someone in the United States develops Alzheimer's disease. Many don't even know it.
I was lucky. We caught this at the very earliest stages. Pieces of my past are being erased.
Bright Focus Foundation's Alzheimer's Disease Research Program has invested more than $175 million in breakthrough research. Call us at 1-855-345-6237 or visit us online at brightfocus.org/brainhealth to learn more.
If you've ever tried to get help for mental health, you know it's not simple. And for a lot of people, it feels like you're navigating it alone. Hero House Northwest is building communities where adults living with serious mental illness can show up, belong, and actually be part of something.
We've heard a lot of it lately is it's okay to not be okay and to share that with other people. And what Hero House Northwest and the Clubhouse model does is it really restores that sense of purpose and dignity, but also that self-esteem.
Inside these clubhouses, CEO Kaylee Fiedler-Golke says people work side by side, building skills and supporting each other in ways traditional systems often don't.
People heal people. We need to be around other people. And I think it doesn't really matter where our backgrounds come from. It really is about that connection to others and feeling seen and heard.
Visit one of their featured clubhouses to explore employment and membership opportunities and ask questions in a welcoming environment. Go to herohousenw.org for full details.